Chapter 2140. Are you threatening me? You can try. Yang Hanwu said coldly. In fact, Yang Hanwu had a good relationship with Zi Xintong. He would save her if he could. However, Yang Hanwu had nothing to do with her. Her life and death had nothing to do with him. Yang Hanwu wouldn't give up his opportunity for her. It was the same for Zi Xintong. Because Yang Hanwu knew that if he gave up now, it wouldn't only be bad for him, it wouldn't be good for Zi Xintong either. After all, Yang Hanwu knew that the evil Buddha dragon was very strong. At this moment, Shui Xian'er saw the killing intent in the evil Buddha dragon's eyes. He's going to attack us. Shui Xian'er said. Be careful. That's right. I'm afraid this guy can't do anything to Yang Hanwu. He wants to capture us and use us to threaten Yang Hanwu. Zi Xintong said. Capture us? That's impossible. No matter what you do, if he wants to capture me, it's simply a fool's dream. Right now, his strength is actually decreasing unceasingly. Seems like Yang Hanwu is a great threat to him. So, he's dead for sure. Shui Xian'er said. However, after a short pause, Shui Xian'er continued, in order to prevent that guy from acting out of desperation, we should retreat first. The two exchanged a glance and instantly distanced themselves from the evil Buddha dragon. He initially wanted to attack Shui Xian'er and Zi Xintong. However, the two of them moved away from him and knew what he was trying to do. This made him feel helpless. Obviously, Zi Xintong and Shui Xian'er were already on guard against him. Now that they were on guard, the possibility of him capturing them in a short period of time was too small. After all, they were both Dao Lords. Coupled with the trump cards in their hands, he absolutely couldn't capture them easily. After all, he couldn't use his full strength right now. His strength had already been greatly suppressed. Now that the two girls were on guard, it was even more impossible for him to do anything. Damn it! The evil dragon ancient Buddha was extremely anxious in his heart. Things had already developed to this point, which made him feel extremely helpless. This was something he had never expected. He originally thought that he could be absolutely safe, but he never thought that everything would go beyond his expectations, which made him extremely depressed. However, even if his strength was suppressed and he could not unleash his full strength, he was still confident that he could take down Shui Xian'er and Zi Xintong. However, if he did that, he would have to pay a huge price. At this moment, he could no longer care about anything else. He took out something from his hand. Shui Xian'er's expression greatly changed after seeing this item. She shouted, retreat, retreat quickly, evil dragon heart devouring curse, evil dragon ancient Buddha's evil dragon heart devouring curse. It is a very terrifying thing. Once hit by this evil dragon heart devouring curse, you will lose your mind for a short period of time. Hearing Shui Xian'er's words, Zi Xintong's expression changed greatly. Although she had never heard of the evil dragon heart devouring curse, Zi Xintong knew that it was definitely not simple after hearing Shui Xian'er's words. Although the loss of consciousness would only last for a short period of time, in a battle between experts, life and death could be decided in a single breath, let alone a short period of time. Zi Xintong didn't hesitate at all. She immediately used her trump card. A brilliant light enveloped her body and her body disappeared from her original position. She had escaped far away from her original position. Just like Zi Xintong, Shui Xian'er also fled in an instant, not wanting to give the evil dragon ancient Buddha any chance. However, the evil dragon ancient Buddha was not so easy to deal with. His aura instantly locked onto the two girls. His figure instantly split into two figures. One of them chased after Zi Xintong, while the other chased after Shui Xian'er. You want to escape? Impossible. The evil dragon ancient Buddha said, I originally did not want to attack you, but unfortunately, you have forced my hand. Although the evil dragon ancient Buddha had split into two, his strength was still very terrifying. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had already caught up with the two girls. Evil dragon ancient Buddha, you want to capture us to threaten Yang Hanwu? You must be dreaming. Shui Xian'er shouted, "Do you really think that Yang Hanwu will come out of your inner world for us? That he will willingly hand over his bloodline power for us? That's impossible. Moreover, you won't have an easy time if you force us. Don't force me to use my trump card. You should know the Saint Yuan sect's trump card very well." "So what?" The evil dragon ancient Buddha said coldly, "Unless that brat Xing Yuan personally takes action, you won't be able to stop me." Such big words. Shui Xian'er was infuriated. "You're forcing my hand. Do you know that? I didn't want to use my trump card, but you're courting death." Shui Xian'er took out an item. As soon as the item appeared, the evil dragon ancient Buddha's expression changed drastically. His body disappeared in an instant, and in the next moment, his clone merged with the clone that was chasing after Zi Xintong. Shui Xian'er was fine, but Zi Xintong's expression changed. She could feel the terror of the evil dragon ancient Buddha. At this moment, his aura had reached its peak. His terrifying aura had locked onto her, making it impossible for her to escape. Since she couldn't avoid it, she could only face it head-on. Thinking of this, Zi Xintong took a deep breath. Her aura crazily rose, and the power of the Saint Devil clan had reached its peak. The Saint Devil clan is indeed powerful, but it's useless against me. Little girl, you can't stop me. Surrender obediently. The evil dragon ancient Buddha said. Is that so? At this moment, a voice sounded. This voice made the evil dragon ancient Buddha feel as if he had seen a ghost. Because this person was none other than Yang Hanwu. One must know that Yang Hanwu was in his inner world, madly devouring his origin energy. He could feel that Yang Hanwu was still in his inner world, but now, an incarnation had appeared in front of him. I knew that you would appear. Hearing this voice, Zi Xintong was extremely happy. This proved that Yang Hanwu cared about her a lot. Yang Hanwu, an incarnation? The evil dragon ancient Buddha looked at Yang Hanwu with narrowed eyes. This was an incarnation. Moreover, this incarnation was similar to the real body, which surprised the evil dragon ancient Buddha. He could feel that this incarnation also contained a vast amount of energy. Its strength was similar to the real body. However, he knew very well that if it was an avatar, it would definitely not possess as many treasures and trump cards as the original body. After all, an incarnation was just an incarnation. It couldn't be the same as the real body. Chapter 2141. You're just an incarnation and yet you dare to be so arrogant. I only need to kill this incarnation of yours and your true body won't have it easy either. You've given me a chance. The evil Buddha dragon stared at Yang Hanwu with a smile. If Yang Hanwu didn't appear, he wouldn't be able to find a chance to deal with Yang Hanwu. But now, he found a way to deal with Yang Hanwu. Although this was just an incarnation of Yang Hanwu, he was the evil Buddha dragon. He could capture Yang Hanwu's incarnation and influence his true body. In fact, many experts who had reached the Tao Master realm could use their incarnations to deal with their true body. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Tao Masters wouldn't use their incarnations to deal with other Tao Masters. Yang Hanwu, be careful. You're just an incarnation. As a Tao Master, you can use your incarnation to influence your true body. At this moment, Shui Xian'er had also arrived and warned loudly. Too late. It's already too late. With that, the evil Buddha dragon turned into a huge black dragon that was as big as a mountain and rushed towards Yang Hanwu. It opened its huge mouth and seemed to want to devour Yang Hanwu and Zi Xintong. However, Shui Xian'er knew that this was to stop her from helping Yang Hanwu. Once Yang Hanwu's incarnation was devoured by the evil Buddha dragon, he would be able to control Yang Hanwu's incarnation. Damn it. Seeing this, Shui Xian'er was extremely anxious. Avatars also possessed powerful bloodline power. Once Yang Hanwu's avatar was suppressed and devoured by the evil dragon ancient Buddha, the evil dragon ancient Buddha's strength would increase. And the main body in the world of the evil dragon ancient Buddha's palm would also be greatly affected. At that time, the evil dragon ancient Buddha would truly be unrivaled. Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. Of course, he knew what the evil dragon ancient Buddha was thinking. It wanted to devour his incarnation, devour his bloodline power to increase its cultivation, and use his bloodline power to deal with his real body. However, it was destined to disappoint the evil Buddha dragon. When the evil Buddha dragon's huge body rushed towards Yang Hongwu, something appeared in Yang Hongwu's hand. It was an ancient gate. This ancient gate was the legendary Dragon Gate. As soon as the Dragon Gate appeared, a terrifying pressure burst out. In the next moment, a tyrannical force rushed out and bombarded the evil Buddha dragon's head. Bam! At this moment, a loud explosion rang out, and the evil dragon ancient Buddha was sent flying. Dragon Gate, how can this be? This is the ancient Dragon Gate, how can it possess such terrifying power? This is absolutely impossible. Although he knew that Yang Hongwu had a supreme treasure that could restrain dragons, he had never imagined that it would be the legendary ancient Dragon Gate. That was the Fortune Dragon Gate, a supreme treasure among dragons. However, he had already lost the Fortune Dragon Gate at that time. Even among the ancient dragons, there was no information about the Fortune Dragon Gate. He had never imagined that Yang Hongwu would possess the Fortune Dragon Gate at this time. Moreover, it was the real Fortune Dragon Gate, even if it was incomplete. At first, he had thought that the Fortune Dragon Gate was just a replica. But he had never imagined that it would be the real deal. This was a huge blow to him. Yang Hongwu's attack just now had caused a terrifying amount of damage to him. This was a pain that came from the depths of his soul. After all, his current physical body was only a relic of his original body. It wasn't his true body. His true body had been sealed long ago. If it was his true body, this mere incomplete Fortune Dragon Gate wouldn't have been able to harm him. Even if it wasn't his original body, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have been able to inflict such great damage on him if he had been prepared. This sudden attack had already damaged his origin. You have the Fortune Dragon Gate, but it's only an incarnation. Can I even take down an incarnation? At this time, the evil Buddha dragon had also become ruthless. His aura was still rising. He was going to use a secret technique. His aura had already risen to the extreme. The peak of half-step Tao Master was still rising. It seemed that he had already touched upon the laws of the divine domain. He was about to break through the shackles of the laws of the divine domain. Once he broke through the shackles, it would mean that he would have to face the lightning tribulation, the great Tao tribulation. In other words, the world force of this side would appear and eliminate this unstable factor. The evil Buddha dragon was unwilling to use this secret technique. After all, it meant that he would have to fight against the laws of this side of the divine domain. Although the great Tao of this side of the divine domain had been restricted, it was still very terrifying. It wasn't something he could contend against. If he was at his peak, he might be able to resist a little. However, his current strength was less than 1/10,000th of his peak strength. He was far from being able to resist the great Tao of this side of the divine domain. However, once he successfully refined Yang Hongwu's bloodline power and obtained the Life Great Seal as well as the Fortune Dragon Gate fragment, his strength would be greatly restored. Even if he couldn't reach his peak, he would be able to recover 50% of his strength. In this way, he could directly break through the shackles of this side of the divine domain and leave this side of the divine domain. Damn it. Seeing this scene, Shui Xian'er once again brought out her trump card. However, in the next moment, something happened that shocked her. The evil Buddha dragon's huge dragon body was instantly shattered. It turned into a pearl that appeared in the void. This pearl was the relic of the evil Buddha dragon's true body. How is this possible? She didn't even see what happened before the evil Buddha dragon's incarnation was beaten back to its original form. This was something she had never expected. She didn't believe that the evil Buddha dragon would abandon the power of the relic and leave this side of the divine domain in his spiritual body. This was impossible. The will of the evil Buddha dragon, or rather, his incarnation, relied on the power of the relic. When the power of the relic fully erupted, it was comparable to a Tao sovereign expert. Although it was only for a short period of time, it was still a Tao sovereign. It was far from what a cultivator in the Tao monarch realm could contend against. She saw Yang Hongwu's figure appear and grab the relic. In fact, a part of the power in Yang Hongwu's body had awakened. He used the Dharma Eye of Annihilation and the devouring furnace to shatter the origin of the world in the evil Buddha dragon's palm at the moment of the evil Buddha dragon's eruption. He directly devoured and refined the origin of the world, improving his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Chapter 2142. This. Zi Xintong and Shui Xian'er were both stunned. It was simply too shocking. Yang Hongwu had directly turned the evil dragon ancient Buddha into a Saraira. Such strength was too overbearing. Shui Xian'er could see that although Yang Hongwu's strength was not bad, it was absolutely impossible for him to do this. Even a Tao Master expert could not turn the evil dragon ancient Buddha's Saraira into its original form in such a short time. Of course, a Tao Master expert could do it, but it would not be so easy. Yang Hongwu's cultivation and strength were definitely not at the level of a Tao Master. But he had done it. What kind of powerful trump card did he have in his hand? This was something that Shui Xian'er was very curious about. Even Yang Hongwu was very curious. It seemed that she still knew too little about Yang Hongwu. His trump cards and what he had hidden were obviously more than that. What she had seen and understood was just the tip of the iceberg. How did you do it? Shui Xian'er looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. It's very simple. Yang Hongwu said. I devoured his quintessence energy, but I didn't. Under the condition that his origin energy was greatly consumed, he could not maintain his strength. Coupled with the suppression of the power of law in the divine domain, he turned into his original form. Zi Xintong curled her lips. She did not believe Yang Hongwu's explanation, but at this time, Zi Xintong naturally would not ask. After all, she knew that Shui Xian'er was not with them. Yang Hongwu had many trump cards that could not be exposed so easily. It was not worth it to expose one's trump card. It could even be said that by doing so, one's life and death would be in the hands of others. Of course, Shui Xian'er did not believe Yang Hongwu's explanation. If it was really as easy as he said, her master would not have paid such a great price to give that thing to her. However, now that Yang Hongwu had turned the evil dragon ancient Buddha into its original form, it would be much easier for her to obtain the evil dragon Saraira. That thing would become her life-saving trump card. With this trump card, even if she encountered a Tao Master expert in the future, she would be safe and sound. Therefore, it was very profitable for her. But now, there was a problem. How could she obtain the evil dragon Saraira from Yang Hongwu? This evil dragon Saraira was very precious and contained a vast amount of energy. If she could refine it, her cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. Moreover, it was very likely that she would obtain part of the inheritance of the evil dragon ancient Buddha. Compared to the energy in the Saraira, this part of the inheritance was the most precious and most important. Her master probably wanted this Saraira because he wanted to obtain part of the inheritance of the evil dragon ancient Buddha. It was said that before the evil dragon ancient Buddha fell into the demon path, he had already obtained the opportunity to break through the shackles of the Tao Master realm. Her master had already reached the limit of the Tao Master realm. However, he had not found the opportunity to break through the bottleneck of the Tao Master realm. This time, her master was looking for this opportunity. This opportunity could allow him to break through the bottleneck of the Tao Master realm. Therefore, Shui Xian'er was determined to obtain this Saraira. If she lost it, she would not be able to explain it to her master. If Yang Hongwu was unwilling to hand over the Saraira, she would have to fight with Yang Hongwu. If she could not defeat Yang Hongwu, she would have to use her trump card. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Shui Xian'er said. Well, it's time for me to go to the ice sanctuary. Yang Hongwu couldn't wait any longer. Originally, Yang Hongwu thought that he would have to pay a huge price this time. He might even be seriously injured. He might even have to give up some things in order to escape. However, he never thought that the evil Buddha dragon would actually give him a chance. It allowed him to defeat the evil Buddha dragon so easily and even reap great benefits. That's a Saraira, Shui Xian'er said. It's very important to me. At this moment, Shui Xian'er stared at Yang Hongwu. She knew that Yang Hongwu wouldn't hand it over so easily. Of course, she also knew that she couldn't make Yang Hongwu hand it over for free. Therefore, she was willing to exchange other treasures for it. You want this Saraira? Yang Hongwu looked at Shui Xian'er. This Saraira wasn't something that Yang Hongwu had to obtain. Of course, this Saraira could allow his cultivation base to rise to the next level. As for the inheritance and secrets within the Saraira, they were also very precious. Yes, but don't worry, I won't let you suffer a loss. What do you want? I can use other things to exchange with you. As long as you say it, I'll think of a way. Shui Xian'er said. Let's put this matter aside for now. I'm going to the ice sanctuary. Yang Hongwu put away the Saraira. This evil dragon Saraira, Yang Hongwu naturally wouldn't hand it over so easily. After all, there were many secrets within this Saraira that he hadn't figured out. Moreover, the most important thing right now was to enter the Ice Saint domain and find Jin Qiushuang. Naturally, he didn't want to waste any more time here. All right. Although Shui Xian'er was also very anxious, she did not say much after seeing Yang Hongwu's attitude. It would be troublesome if Yang Hongwu was dissatisfied. Although she was confident that she could deal with Yang Hongwu and Zi Xintong, it would be best if they did not fall out. That trump card was too powerful. It was not worth it to waste it like this. At this moment, Yang Hongwu frowned. The previous battle with the evil dragon ancient Buddha didn't last that long. Yang Hongwu didn't have the energy to pay attention to the Ice Saint domain during the previous battle. However, at this moment, Yang Hongwu was completely focused on the Ice Saint domain. Moreover, after killing Ice Dragon Dao Lord and obtaining the Ice Dragon Ancient Mirror, he became the owner of Ice Dragon Mountain. In this Ice Dragon Mountain, except for the Ice Sanctuary, everything else was under his control. Although he had not fully refined the Ice Dragon Ancient Mirror, the entire Ice Dragon Mountain could not escape his eyes. What's wrong? Zi Xintong asked. Let's go. Yang Hongwu's figure disappeared on the spot. His destination was, of course, the Ice Sanctuary. At this moment, Yang Hongwu was so anxious because the Ice Sanctuary had opened. Moreover, he could feel Jin Qiushuang's aura. This was something that surprised him. Chapter 2143. They're fighting. At this moment, Yang Hongwu frowned slightly as he sensed two powerful auras fighting. One of them belonged to Jin Qiushuang while the other belonged to none other than Xue Xue. Jin Qiushuang's strength is already at the Dao Lord realm and she's fighting with Xue Xue. Could it be that Sister Qiushuang has obtained Xue's inheritance? Zi Xintong said. Shui Xian'er also caught up. Of course, she also sensed the auras of the two. She was very familiar with Jin Qiushuang's aura because she was the one who sent Jin Qiushuang into the Ice Sacred Domain. One had to know that Jin Qiushuang's strength was far from the Dao Lord realm at that time. However, Jin Qiushuang's strength had already reached the Dao Lord realm in such a short period of time. Moreover, she could even contend against Xue Xue. This cultivation speed was too fast. Come, let's go in. Yang Hongwu didn't want anything to happen to his woman. His face darkened. He waved his hand and opened the door to the Ice Sacred Domain. At this moment, the entire Ice Dragon Mountain was under his control. It naturally wouldn't be difficult for him to enter the Ice Sacred Domain. Stop! After entering the Ice Sacred Domain, he saw Xue Xue and Jin Qiushuang confronting each other. At this moment, Jin Qiushuang seemed familiar to Yang Hongwu but also somewhat unfamiliar. When Jin Qiushuang saw Yang Hongwu's arrival, she didn't come to his side as Yang Hongwu expected. Instead, she looked at Yang Hongwu with a puzzled expression. This was because Jin Qiushuang looked at Yang Hongwu as if she didn't know him but also seemed very familiar. This is your helper? Jin Qiushuang looked at Xue Xue and said coldly. Sister Qiushuang seems to have lost her memory. At this moment, Zi Xintong said. Yang Hongwu frowned. He could see that Jing Qiushuang didn't seem to be pretending. She really seemed to have lost her memory. Yang Hongwu wouldn't think that his woman would betray him. This was impossible. Even though Jing Qiushuang's current cultivation was much higher than his, as long as she still had her memories, she would never betray him. Yang Hongwu was absolutely sure of this. However, now that Jing Qiushuang had lost her memories and forgotten about him, Yang Hongwu felt very disappointed and depressed. Qiushuang, don't you remember me? I'm your man. Yang Hongwu immediately arrived between Jing Qiushuang and Snow Dance. She's your Dao companion? She wants to stop me from obtaining the Ice Dominion's inheritance. I don't mind the fact that she refined a portion of the Ice Dominion's origin energy, but she wants to stop me from obtaining the inheritance? Regarding Jing Qiushuang's attempt to seize her inheritance, Shui was extremely angry and dissatisfied. This was her inheritance. To her, it was extremely important. If anyone dared to stop her, they would be her enemy. She would not rest until they were dead. Nonsense, since when did I have a Dao companion? Also, the Ice Dominion's inheritance is mine. You're dreaming if you think you can take it from me. Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you have more people. Jing Qiushuang's expression changed when she heard Shui Wu's words. Battle intent erupted from her body as she spoke coldly. She's been possessed? Zi Xintong's eyes narrowed. Sister Qiushuang, I'm afraid she's been possessed. No, she's not. Yang Hongwu shook his head. She wasn't possessed, but her memories had been tampered with. In other words, she had lost a portion of her memories. However, no matter what, Jing Qiushuang was his woman. Yang Hongwu wouldn't let his woman be bullied. As for the Ice Dominion's inheritance, Yang Hongwu would definitely seize it for her if it was of great help to Jing Qiushuang. However, judging from the current situation, that wasn't the case. Although Jing Qiushuang had obtained a portion of the inheritance, she had lost her memories. This wasn't a good thing for Jing Qiushuang. The inheritance of the Ice Dominion wasn't that simple. The inheritance of the Ice Dominion isn't simple. Yang Hongwu spoke coldly. Who dares to scheme against my woman? I'll let him know what's scary. Yang Hongwu was really angry at this moment. Someone had schemed against his woman and sealed Jing Qiushuang's memories. For Yang Hongwu, this was a huge enmity. He had to take revenge. What should we do now? Sister Qiushuang's current strength isn't simple. It won't be easy to capture her without harming her. Zi Xintong said. She could see that Jing Qiushuang wasn't weak even though she had just entered the Dao Lord realm. It wouldn't be easy to capture her without harming her. Yang Hongwu frowned slightly. He was naturally aware of this. This was also the reason why Yang Hongwu was angry. Although he could control the Ice Dragon Mountain, he couldn't control the Ice Dominion. Otherwise, he could use the origin energy of the Ice Dragon Mountain to set up a formation that could easily trap Jing Qiushuang. However, the person who schemed against Jing Qiushuang in the Ice Dominion should be able to control a part of the laws of the entire Ice Dominion. Because of this, even if Yang Hongwu became the Lord of the Ice Dragon Mountain, he couldn't easily set up a formation here and imprison Jing Qiushuang. However, it wasn't that he didn't have a chance because there was still Shui Wu. Shui Wu was also the Lord of the Ice Dominion. The origin energy of the Ice Dominion that she controlled shouldn't be inferior to the person who schemed against Jing Qiushuang. Yang Hongwu reckoned that the person who schemed against Jing Qiushuang should be the former Lord of the Ice Dominion. Or rather, he used to be the Lord of the Ice Dominion. What was left behind should be his remnant consciousness. However, his strength shouldn't be underestimated. Of course, he shouldn't be too strong. If he was strong enough, Jing Qiushuang would have been possessed and her memories wouldn't have been sealed. Yang Hongwu and Zi Xintong's conversation wasn't through telepathy. Jing Qiushuang naturally heard it. Although she could sense a very familiar aura from Yang Hongwu that made her want to get closer to him, as if she and Yang Hongwu had known each other for a long time, there was another voice in her head that told her that these people in front of her were all enemies. They were all here to seize the Ice Dominion. They were all here to seize her opportunity. They were all her enemies. I don't care who you are. Leave this place obediently. This is my territory, the Ice Dominion is mine. If you don't leave now, don't blame me for being impolite. Although there was a trace of confusion in Jing Qiushuang's eyes, it quickly turned cold and she said coldly. What big words? You want me to leave and seize my opportunity? That's impossible. Shuawu said coldly. Yang Hanwu, is this woman really your Dao companion? If she is, you better wake her up. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Chapter 2144. Bastard, you damned woman. I have nothing to do with him. At this moment, Jing Qiushuang's voice was cold. You want to snatch away my good fortune and my inheritance? That's impossible. This is my territory. If you don't leave, I'll beat you to death. Jing Qiushuang's voice was filled with murderous intent. Her eyes glowed red. Upon seeing this scene, Yang Hanwu was truly enraged. That fellow was clearly trying to seize Jing Qiushuang's body and use her to recover his cultivation. This was unforgivable. Damn it, Yang Hanwu. Since you can't control your woman, I'll do it. But don't blame me for being impolite if I kill her. Shui said coldly. Why don't we join forces? We should be able to trap your woman. Shui Xianer said. If the four of them join forces, it wouldn't be too difficult to suppress Jing Qiushuang. Even if she fought with her life on the line, she would only be slightly injured. Of course, if the other party chose to self-destruct, then it would be a different story. Even so, the probability of Jing Qiushuang self-destructing was very low. After all, the four of them were not weak. They could fight against experts in the Dao Lord realm and even warriors in the half-step Dao Master realm. Zi Xintong nodded and said, if that's the case, it's a good choice. At this time, Jing Qiushuang was anxious. The will in her body was really worried that Yang Hanwu and the other three would join forces. Once the four of them joined forces, Jing Qiushuang would definitely not be a match for them. Even with the power of the entire ice sanctuary, it would still be impossible. After all, there was still Shui. She was very powerful. Most importantly, Shui was the owner of half of the ice sanctuary. His original intention was to possess Jing Qiushuang and be reborn. However, his will was too weak. Even though he was the owner of the ice sanctuary, he couldn't do it in a short period of time. After all, there was a powerful force in Jing Qiushuang's body. This force prevented him from truly possessing her in a short period of time. Moreover, he wanted to reclaim the entire ice dominion. This was also why he had activated the Ice Saint domain at this moment. He had sensed Shui's arrival. If he could kill Shui, then he would truly be resurrected. Moreover, he would be able to reclaim the Ice Dominion and become the Ice Dominion's master once again. However, he didn't expect that it wasn't just one person who entered the Ice Sanctuary. There were three of them. Moreover, they were very powerful. Although Yang Hongwu's cultivation was only at the sovereign realm, he could feel a huge pressure. This pressure was very terrifying. It seemed to be able to destroy his true spirit. This made him very wary. However, he couldn't really control Jing Qiushuang now. He could only influence her will. If he hadn't sealed her memories, it would be even more troublesome now. To him, it was getting more and more troublesome. Moreover, he could feel that Jing Qiushuang's memories seemed to be showing signs of awakening. His seal was a little weak, which made him extremely annoyed. Jing Qiushuang's strength was not strong to begin with. If it was not so, he would not have been able to seal Jing Qiushuang's memories, let alone choose Jing Qiushuang as a carrier. Because his strength was too weak, his true spirit was far from recovering. Therefore, he had to think of a way. It would be best if he could force them out. However, this was very difficult. This woman and the young man had an important relationship. This was why he was so angry. However, if it wasn't for this, they might have joined forces to kill him. At that time, he wouldn't have enough strength to resist. It was because he wasn't strong enough. Let me do it. Yang Hanwu spoke at this moment. You. Back off. Yang Hanwu said to Bing Shuiwu. All right. If you can't deal with it, I won't show mercy. Bing Shuiwu said coldly. Qiushuang. Yang Hanwu came before Jin Qiushuang. He looked at her and said, Your memories have been sealed. This isn't difficult for me. You can't trust him. He's your enemy. Your mortal enemy. He wants to steal your inheritance and Ice Sanctuary. At this moment, Ancestor Ice Snow was anxious. His strand of true spirit was madly influencing Jin Qiushuang. Under the influence of Ancestor Ice Snow, Jin Qiushuang had a headache. She shouted, I don't know. I don't know you. Quiet down. Yang Hanwu said. At this moment, Yang Hanwu used a secret spirit technique to calm Jin Qiushuang down. He could see clearly that there was a strand of true spirit in Jin Qiushuang's body. This strand of true spirit belonged to a stranger. This true spirit was filled with the power of ice and was extremely pure. Yang Hanwu guessed that this person should be the previous successor of Ice Sanctuary. Or rather, the master of Ice Sanctuary. This strand of true spirit wanted to be revived and possessed. This was something that Yang Hanwu understood as well. However, this strand of true spirit was now in Jin Qiushuang's body. It wouldn't be easy for him to pull it out. After all, Yang Hanwu didn't want Jin Qiushuang to get hurt. It was indeed very troublesome to deal with this strand of true spirit. Fortunately, this strand of true spirit wasn't very strong. If it was strong enough, it wouldn't have sealed Jin Qiushuang's memories. It would have taken over her body directly. Yang Hanwu's words made Jin Qiushuang quiet down. Yang Hanwu continued, I don't care who you are. Leave my wife's body. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. Yang Hanwu couldn't deal with the strand of true spirit in Jin Qiushuang's body in a short period of time. Therefore, he threatened. I don't know what you're talking about. You give me a familiar feeling, but I don't know you. Regardless of whether I know you or not, if you want to steal my Ice Sanctuary, I won't agree to it. Jin Qiushuang looked at Yang Hanwu. The man in front of her gave her a very familiar feeling. It was very intimate, giving her an impulse to jump into his arms. Therefore, she almost believed Yang Hanwu's words. However, in her mind, Ice Sanctuary was very important to her. The source of her power seemed to come from Ice Sanctuary. If she lost Ice Sanctuary, her strength would be greatly reduced. This made it impossible for her to give up Ice Sanctuary. Chapter 2145. It's just the Ice Dominion. It's nothing. Yang Hanwu shook his head. I'm the Lord of the Common People Dominion. If you want to be the Lord of a Dominion, I can give it to you. I don't believe you. Anyway, I don't care what relationship you have with me, but you have to leave this place. This is my territory. Jin Qiushuang said. Yang Hanwu knew that Jin Qiushuang was under the influence of Patriarch Ice Snow. As long as he took care of Patriarch Ice Snow and broke the seal on Jin Qiushuang's memories, everything would be resolved perfectly. No, retreat. I can't retreat. The Ice Dominion is mine. It's nothing to me, but I won't give up on the inheritance of the Ice Dominion. Shuiwu was furious. She looked coldly at Jin Qiushuang and Yang Hanwu. If you want to seize the Ice Dominion, you're my enemy. Enemies to the death. Enough. Yang Hanwu frowned. It was troublesome. I've said it before. I don't care about the Ice Dominion. I don't want your so-called Ice Dominion. Besides, if I want it, you can't stop me. You can try. Shuiwu said coldly. You're strong. I don't deny that. But if you think you can suppress me like this, you're too naive. At this moment, Icy Dance took out her supreme treasure, the Icy Snow Sacred Zither. One had to know that she had not taken out the Icy Snow Sacred Zither when she had faced Tao Lord Ice Dragon previously. At this moment, she was really angry as she stared at Yang Hanwu and Jin Qiushuang. Yang Hanwu furrowed his brows. He was really angry. Don't force me. Yang Hanwu was feeling irritated. After all, he had just experienced a lot. He thought that finding Jing Qiushuang would be a very happy thing for him, but he never expected that Jing Qiushuang's memory had been sealed. This made him especially angry. Now, Icy Dance had been causing trouble for him. How could he not be angry? Of course, this wasn't the only thing that made Yang Hanwu feel displeased. There was another matter, and it was the exalted Tao Defiance who were hiding in the shadows. At this moment, Yang Hanwu had sensed the exalted Tao Defiance aura. Even though the exalted Tao Defiance had only revealed a strand of their aura, it had still been captured by Yang Hanwu. So, Yang Hanwu really didn't want to expose all his trump cards and pay a huge price to deal with Icy Dance and that fellow who'd sealed Jing Qiushuang's memories. If he was careless and allowed the exalted Tao Defiance to seize the opportunity, then he would be in huge trouble. Even though the strength of this clone of the exalted Tao Defiance wasn't at the true Tao Exalt realm, it was still at the half-step Tao Exalt realm. Moreover, he didn't know how many trump cards that fellow possessed. After this clone of the exalted Tao Defiance was defeated by Chen Shi, it had always been in hiding and hadn't made an appearance. So, it was definitely looking for an opportunity, and it would definitely make a move once it found a suitable opportunity. The current situation was extremely disadvantageous to Yang Hanwu, but it was a good opportunity for the exalted Tao Defiance. Because Jing Qiushuang was extremely important to him, and she'd been schemed against at this moment. Coupled with the fact that Icy Dance was here as well, it would be extremely troublesome if he couldn't deal with the current situation and fell into chaos or even fought with them. Yang Hanwu, what do you intend to do? Asked Shui Xian as she looked at Yang Hanwu. She wanted the evil dragon relic that Yang Hanwu had obtained, so she naturally stood on Yang Hanwu's side. As for Icy Dance, she really didn't take her seriously. Icy Dance was the controller of the divine domain of ice, but in reality, she wasn't particularly strong right now. Moreover, the inheritance of the divine domain of ice she'd obtained wasn't complete, and it was only a part of it. If she could obtain the complete inheritance, then perhaps she would be a little afraid. No matter what, in Shui Xian'er's opinion, there was only one person she was afraid of, and it was Yang Hanwu. Yang Hanwu's cultivation wasn't high, but his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Even the clone of the evil dragon relic, the clone of a half-step Tao Exalt, wasn't a match for him. Even though there was an element of opportunism and luck, Yang Hanwu's strength was absolutely unquestionable. It could be said that no one in the true ancient god domain was as outstanding as him, and no one in the Saint Origin sect could compare to him. Moreover, it was probably only a matter of time before Yang Hanwu entered the ancient god domain. Once he entered the ancient god domain, he would probably become the target of numerous experts in the ancient god domain. Of course, he might be the target of pursuit as well. Such a genius couldn't be controlled, so he had to be destroyed. This was extremely normal in the cultivation world and the myriad of worlds. Reality was just so cruel. So what if you join forces? Icy Dance said coldly. I'm not afraid. Icy Dance didn't want to go against Yang Hanwu, and she didn't want to fight him. If it was before, she would only be afraid of Zi Xintong. But now, she wasn't confident enough. Firstly, Yang Hanwu was too strong. Although his cultivation wasn't high, his combat strength was shocking. As for Zi Xintong, she was the princess of the Devil Domain, a member of the Saint Devil clan, and a Tao Lord. She probably hadn't revealed her trump cards yet. Therefore, she couldn't be underestimated. In addition, there was Shui Xian'er, who came from the upper world. She didn't know how strong Shui Xian'er was. If she really wanted to fight, even if she could rely on the origin energy of the ice domain to win, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. At this moment, Ancestor Ice Snow, who was in Jing Qiushuang's body, was pleasantly surprised. Internal strife was the best opportunity for him. If they were really of one mind, then they could definitely go all out and imprison Jing Qiushuang. If that happened, he wouldn't have the slightest chance. After all, he couldn't deal with any of these people. He would only have a chance if they fought among themselves. He kept bewitching Jing Qiushuang, and even used the power of laws to bewitch Icy Dance, Yang Hanwoo, and the others. In fact, he wasn't weak. However, he didn't have a physical body now, and his true spirit was incomplete. Therefore, the combat strength he could unleash was very weak. If that wasn't the case, he would have taken over Jin Qiushuang's body. At this moment, Yang Hanwoo snorted coldly, and a terrifying aura erupted from his body. The power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique was circulated to the extreme. At this moment, Yang Hanwoo only circulated the power in his body, but he didn't make a move. Instead, he used the power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique in his Nine Dragons Saint body to stimulate Jin Qiushuang's memories. Chapter 2146. Bastard. Seeing this, Patriarch Ice Snow panicked. He tried to influence Jin Qiushuang continuously, trying to force her to make a move. He knew that once Jin Qiushuang broke through the seal on her memories, all of his schemes would be for naught. Not only would he not be able to reincarnate, but he would also face death. This was his greatest worry. "Come out," Yang Hanwoo said coldly. "I don't know who you are, but you dare to scheme against my wife. This is your biggest mistake. You little brat, how dare you ruin my plan? You're courting death." At this moment, a figure appeared. It was none other than Ancestor Ice Snow. "Ancestor Ice Snow, how is this possible?" Shue Shue exclaimed when she saw the figure of Ancestor Ice Snow. "Little girl, you're that woman's descendant. You deserve to die too." Ancestor Ice Snow's face was ferocious, and the power of the entire Ice Dominion erupted. At this moment, Jin Qiushuang was already under Ancestor Ice Snow's control. She had regained her consciousness and a part of her memories, but her body was still under Ancestor Ice Snow's control. However, Ancestor Ice Snow had paid a great price, and he couldn't fully control Jin Qiushuang. He could only control her for a short period of time. During this period of time, he wanted to borrow the power of Jin Qiushuang and the Ice Dominion to defeat Yang Hanwoo and the others. He also wanted to refine the part of the inheritance of the Ice Dominion that Shue Shue had obtained. Only then could he recover his strength. Otherwise, he would have no chance at all. His heart was as clear as a mirror. This was his last chance. Once he failed, he would have no chance of coming back to life. That was why he was so crazy. "Ancestor Ice Snow, I didn't expect you to still be alive." "So what if you're alive? You're just a remnant soul," Shue Shue said coldly. "Hand over the inheritance of the Ice Dominion, or I'll make you wish you were dead." "Wish I was dead?" Ancestor Ice Snow said coldly. "You're as arrogant as that old woman. However, your strength is far inferior to that old woman. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? You're courting death." "Patriarch Ice Snow, is it?" Yang Hanwoo said coldly. "If you leave now, I can spare your life." "Impossible. You must be dreaming. All of you have to die now," Patriarch Ice Snow said angrily. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying power erupted. This was the power of Law of the Ice Saint domain. The temperature of the entire space instantly dropped by several times, as if the entire space was about to be frozen. It was extremely terrifying. The power of laws. Yang Hanwoo frowned slightly. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't have a way to deal with Ancestor Ice Snow. However, he didn't want Jin Qiushuang to get hurt. After all, this was her physical body. No! At that moment, the nomological power of the Ice Saint realm underwent a change. "This is impossible." The voice belonged to Patriarch Ice Snow. His true spirit was forced out of Jin Qiushuang's body. "Get out." This time, it was Jin Qiushuang's voice. "You damned bastard, how dare you try to possess me? You're courting death." A domineering power formed into a gigantic net. Then, this gigantic net shrouded Old Master Icy Snow within. Jin Qiushuang was infuriated. If not for the arrival of Yang Hanwoo, she might have truly turned into a puppet of Patriarch Ice Snow. In fact, she might even have been possessed by him. Patriarch Ice Snow was the previous master of the Ice Saint domain. In fact, he wasn't the true master. He was only half a master. This was because he had only obtained the source of the Ice Saint domain. However, the Ice Saint domain was only a part of the inheritance and source of the Ice Saint domain. If he could obtain the complete inheritance of the Ice Saint domain, his strength would definitely be much stronger than what he was now. The source of the Ice Saint domain was extremely strong. Even Yang Hongwu was surprised. In the entire 13 god domains, the strongest god domain was the common people god domain. The second strongest god domain would be the Ice Saint domain. Qiushuang, this is great. Have you recovered your memories? Yang Hongwu was pleasantly surprised when he saw this. Yes. Jing Qiushuang nodded and ran towards Yang Hongwu. She threw herself into his arms and said, "I'm sorry, husband. I actually forgot about you. It's all right. As long as you're fine. I should be the one apologizing. I came too late." Yang Hongwu hugged Jing Qiushuang tightly. "Husband, I've missed you so much," Jing Qiushuang said with tears in her eyes. "I'll never let you leave my side again." Yang Hongwu hugged Jing Qiushuang tightly and said, "Be careful." At this moment, Zi Xintong reminded. At this moment, Jing Qiushuang's attack landed on Yang Hongwu's back. The power of this attack was extremely strong. It was the full power of a Dao Lord expert. In an instant, Yang Hongwu was sent flying. "Haha, kid, you've underestimated me." At this moment, a sharp voice came from Jing Qiushuang's mouth. This voice didn't belong to Jing Qiushuang. Clearly, Yang Hongwu had been tricked. Jing Qiushuang hadn't recovered her memories at all. Is that so? As soon as Ancestor Ice Snow's voice fell, another Yang Hongwu appeared beside him. At this moment, Yang Hongwu formed seals with both hands and instantly sealed the space. While Ancestor Ice Snow was feeling complacent, Yang Hongwu completely imprisoned Jing Qiushuang. He sealed her cultivation and made her unable to move at all. With the entire space sealed and Jing Qiushuang imprisoned, Ancestor Ice Snow no longer had any chance to escape. "No, how is this possible? Who was it just now?" Ancestor Ice Snow yelled. His scheme just now could be said to be flawless. He didn't think that anyone could see through it. However, he didn't expect that Yang Hongwu would see through his scheme so easily. Yang Hongwu even beat him at his own game. Yang Hongwu's series of actions stunned Shui Xianer and Shui Shui. This sudden change was so fast that they couldn't react in time. They were both scheming against each other. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's method shocked them even more because they couldn't see through Yang Hongwu's clone. "Nothing is impossible. How dare you scheme against me and attempt to possess my wife? You're courting death. I'll let you know what true fear is and what it means to live a life worse than death." Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light. "I'll extract your true spirit and burn it with karmic fire for 100,000 years. Chapter 2147. You dare to kill me? If you kill me, your woman will be dead. Do you know that? Being burned by the karmic fire and not being able to die, Ancestor Icy Snow was in great pain. The pain of the karmic fire burning his soul wasn't something an ordinary person could bear. It could be said that this was the most terrible punishment. He endured the terrible pain and said with a threatening tone. He didn't want to die, but he didn't want to suffer such terrible pain. It was worse than death. Kill you? Naturally, I won't kill you. I've said that I'll make you wish you were dead. I'll make you suffer endless pain. How can I kill you so easily? Yang Hongwu said coldly. He knew that old Ancestor Icy Snow wanted him to kill him. However, Yang Hongwu couldn't do that. It would be too easy for him to kill old Ancestor Icy Snow. Moreover, he was right. The seal of Ancestor Icy Snow was still in Jing Qiushuang's body. This seal was very strange. If Ancestor Icy Snow was killed, this seal would explode and cause great damage to Jing Qiushuang's soul. This was something Yang Hongwu didn't want to see. Yang Hanwu didn't want his woman to suffer any harm. Therefore, even if he wanted to kill Ancestor Icy Snow, he had to wait until the hidden danger of the seal in Jingqiu Shuang's body was removed. Yang Hanwu, now that you've subdued Ancestor Icy Snow, shouldn't you let your woman hand over the inheritance of the Ice Saint domain? Icy Dance looked at Yang Hanwu and said. Not now. Yang Hanwu frowned and shook his head. Why? Are you going back on your word? Icy Dance said coldly. What do you mean? Yang Hanwu said. I'm here to find someone, but I didn't promise you anything. I only promised to join hands with you to deal with Tao Lord Ice Dragon and attack Ice Dragon Mountain. Icy Dance's tone made Yang Hanwu very unhappy. This woman was too self-righteous. Did she really think that she was powerful? Of course, Yang Hanwu had to admit that Icy Dance was very strong. If she really fell out with him, he might not be able to gain a huge advantage. Yang Hanwu, do you really want to go against me? Hearing Yang Hanwu's words, her hair stood on end. This bastard didn't put her in his eyes at all. The Ice Saint Zither in her hand already emitted a clanging sound with killing intent. The power of heaven and earth in the ice domain was mobilized by her. She was the master of the Frost Dominion, and the current Frost Dominion was only a small part of it. Moreover, Jingqiu Shuang wasn't the true master of the Frost Dominion yet, so she hadn't fully refined it. It wouldn't be easy to contend with Xue Xue. Unless Yang Hanwu controlled the Ice Saint domain and became its master, coupled with the Ice Dragon Mountain, he would be able to contend with her. Otherwise, Xue Xue would have the absolute advantage in controlling the Ice Saint domain. That was why Snow Dance was so confident. Icy Dance. At this time, Shui Xianer spoke. Hand over the Ice Saint domain. That's right. Zi Xintong said. Now, Shui Xianer and Zi Xintong were on Yang Hongwu's side. Therefore, Bing Shuewu didn't have any advantage. After all, even if Bing Shuewu was strong, she wouldn't be able to fight against the three of them. You're courting death. Icy Dance was furious. She looked coldly at Yang Hanwu and the others. I already knew about your plan. Do you really think I don't have a trump card? As she spoke, the Ice Saint domain changed. The power of the Ice Saint domain surged into Icy Dance's body. Wait. Yang Hanwu smiled bitterly and said, Icy Dance, you don't have to be like this. I don't want to fight to the death with you. I don't care about the inheritance of the ice domain. What I care about is my woman. I've already found her, but she hasn't recovered her memories. She's still in danger. Your tone just now made me very angry. In fact, I don't want to be your enemy. Furthermore, if I really want the inheritance of the ice domain, you won't be able to stop me. Yang Hanwu paused for a second, then a terrifying aura burst out. My strength is far from what you see. Let me tell you, we're not safe yet. Our greatest enemy hasn't appeared yet. What did you say? Icy Dance asked. Are you afraid? If you don't want to be my enemy, then leave quickly. You're too naive. Do you really think that your master would be so kind? Do you really think that your master has ascended to the upper world? At this moment, Yang Hanwu hugged Jingqiu Shuang and channeled his boundless magical powers into her body. He wanted to expel the energy that Patriarch Ice Snow had left in her and wake her up. Bastard, how dare you slander my master? You're courting death. Hearing that Yang Hanwu had actually brought the topic of conversation to her master, and even dared to slander her master, she became even more furious. The aura around her became even more terrifying, even more terrifying. Shui Xianer frowned slightly. He seemed to have realized something. However, Zi Xintong said, she's just one person, so why waste your breath on her? You'll be able to take control of the ice domain if you kill her. At that time, once you refine the ice domain and combine it with the common life domain, your strength will improve tremendously. Only in that way would you be qualified to fight Zetian. Zetian has already taken control of 3 domains, and his strength is still improving incessantly. You won't be able to fight Zetian if you're only in control of the common life domain. Yang Hanwu frowned when he heard Zi Xintong. That wasn't a good thing. He really didn't care about the ice domain. Not to mention the ice domain, even Yang Hanwu didn't really care about the entire 13 divine regions. If he really paid a huge price and fell out with Icy Dance, then he would definitely suffer great losses. Because even if he was able to obtain the divine domain of ice, it would probably cause extremely heavy losses to him. Moreover, once he fell out with Icy Dance, then wouldn't it give the Exalt Dao Defiance who were hiding in the shadows an opportunity to take action? Zi Xintong had come to the ice domain with him and had fought the Exalt Dao Defiance. She was clearly aware of how terrifying the Exalt Dao Defiance were. So, why would she speak such words now? It was extremely unwise. Could it be that she didn't know? Yang Hanwu felt a trace of uneasiness when he thought up to this point. Right at this moment, Zi Xintong attacked. She transformed into a bolt of lightning and condensed terrifying energy to attack Icy Dance. Damn it! Yang Hongwu's expression instantly changed drastically when he witnessed this scene. She wasn't Zi Xintong at all, she was simply an Exalt Dao Defiant. He didn't know where Zi Xintong had gone, but she'd actually vanished right before his eyes. The person before him was an Exalt Dao Defiant. This Exalt Dao Defiant was truly terrifying. He'd actually unknowingly fallen for her trap. Good. Very good. Icy Dance was furious when she saw Zi Xintong attack. Chapter 2148. At this moment, Yang Hanwu was extremely anxious as well. He hadn't expected that the situation would actually develop to such an extent. The Exalt Dao Defiance scheme really was formidable. The Exalt Dao Defiance were truly too formidable. However, the Exalt Dao Defiance hadn't attacked by force and had schemed like this instead. This proved that the Exalt Dao Defiance weren't as formidable as he'd imagined. The Exalt Dao Defiance probably didn't have sufficient confidence in their ability to fight him head-on, and that was why the Exalt Dao Defiance had resorted to such unorthodox means. It was truly quite embarrassing for a Dao Exalt to have to scheme against the mere Sovereign Realm Cultivator. Of course, Yang Hanwu wanted to stop the Exalt Dao Defiance as well. However, he didn't have any other choice right now. The Exalt Dao Defiance? Yang Hanwu shouted loudly. Where's Zi Xintong? Actually, Yang Hanwu was even more curious. Since the Exalt Dao Defiance was by his side and had transformed into Zi Xintong, then why hadn't the Exalt Dao Defiance attacked him? If the Exalt Dao Defiance attacked him, then the chances of the Exalt Dao Defiance injuring him was very high. What? Shui Xianer was instantly stunned when she heard Yang Hanwu, and Xue Xue, who was locked in combat with the Exalt Dao Defiance, didn't dare believe her eyes as well. They'd naturally heard of the Exalt Dao Defiance. Especially Shui Xianer, the Exalt Dao Defiance reputation resounded like thunder in her ears. The Exalt Dao Defiance was a peak Dao Exalt, and his strength was even stronger than her master, the sect master of the Saint Origin sect. According to rumor, the Exalt Dao Defiance had left the God domain a long time ago. But she'd never imagined that after hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Zi Xintong was actually the Exalt Dao Defiance. If he really was the Exalt Dao Defiance, then it would probably be difficult for her to obtain what she wanted. Yang Hanwu, what did you say? Zi Xintong is the Exalt Dao Defiance? Shui Xianer exclaimed with surprise. Yes. At this moment, Yang Hanwu had completely removed the seal on Jing Qiushuang's memories. However, he hadn't completely eliminated Ancestor Icy Snow's strength, and he was just a little short. But even then, Yang Hanwu had exhausted quite a bit of his strength. This made Yang Hanwu quite worried. He wasn't fully confident in his ability to deal with the Exalt Dao Defiance right now. Moreover, Yang Hanwu was worried about where Zi Xintong had gone because the strength of these Exalt Dao Defiance was truly too mysterious. If he wasn't wrong, Zi Xintong was indeed Zi Xintong. So, the sudden appearance of the Exalt Dao Defiance was probably because the Exalt Dao Defiance had teleported Zi Xintong somewhere, or perhaps the Exalt Dao Defiance had teleported Zi Xintong into his world. If that was the case, then it wouldn't be easy for him to rescue Zi Xintong. However, Yang Hanwu was even more curious about why the Exalt Dao Defiant had attacked Icy Dance. Moreover, it was at a time like this. If the Exalt Thou Defiant really intended to attack Icy Dance, then the Exalt Thou Defiant could have found a more suitable time and not right now. The Exalt Thou Defiance? Shin Tong-woo frowned as well. She'd withdrawn the sacred zither of ice, and the tinkling of the zither resounded. It transformed into numerous terrifying musical notes that attacked the Exalt Thou Defiance. However, the strength of the Exalt Thou Defiance was extremely formidable, and the might of these musical notes was utterly incapable of resisting their attacks. The Exalt Thou Defiance merely waved his hand before the energy of the musical notes was transformed into nothingness. A terrifying cold glow flashed through Shin Tong-woo's eyes when she saw that the Exalt Thou Defiance was about to arrive before her, and she said in a grim voice, "So what if you're the Exalt Thou Defiance? This is the divine domain of ice, and it's my territory. Energy of ice, everlasting seal of ice." Shin Tong-woo roared furiously, and the entire divine domain of ice was instantly frozen. The terrifying energy of ice swept over, and everywhere it passed was covered in layers of crystalline and translucent ice. "Ha ha! You want to seal me with just this little bit of energy of ice? What a joke!" At this moment, the Exalt Thou Defiance stopped concealing his appearance, and he'd revealed his true appearance. He was extremely mighty, and he was like a boundlessly mighty and extremely dignified ancient expert. It was like he was an invincible existence, and his dignity was inviolable. This was the majesty of a powerhouse. Under this majesty, anyone who was weaker than him would be suppressed. Tao Exalt. So what if you're a Tao Exalt? You're unable to bring forth your strongest strength in this world. I can kill you, but I'll kill a Tao Exalt today. Shin Tong-woo roared loudly. Her battle intent was surging. There was no one in her eyes anymore, and the energy of the sacred zither of ice in her hand had been condensed to the limit. The energy of ice grew even stronger. However, the Exalt Thou Defiant's strength was obvious, and every single move he made was filled with boundlessly domineering energy of the laws. The energy of ice attacked incessantly, but it didn't stop at the same time. This was the strength of the Exalt Thou Defiance, and it could overturn the world, the laws, and the grand Taos of the world. Shui Xianer, what are you waiting for? Go help Shin Tong-woo or we'll all die here. Yang Han-woo was still unable to attack, so he shouted loudly at Shui Xianer. The strength that the Exalt Thou Defiance revealed right now was much stronger than he'd imagined. After all, the strength that Shui Shui had erupted with just now was extremely formidable. She'd even utilized the quintessence energy of the ice domain. Moreover, Yang Han-woo himself had opened up the entire mountain for Shui Shui Shui. If it wasn't for that, then Shui 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 wouldn't have been able to exert such strength at all. Even so, Shin Tong-woo wasn't able to gain the upper hand in the battle against the Exalt Thou Defiance. Even though it seemed like she had the upper hand, the Exalt Thou Defiance victory was already in the bag. Yang Han-woo knew that if this continued and Shin Tong-woo was defeated or even killed by the Exalt Thou Defiance, then the Exalt Thou Defiance would become even stronger. Even though he didn't know why the Exalt Thou Defiance attacked Shin Tong-woo at this moment, Yang Han-woo was able to guess a little. The Exalt Thou Defiance probably wanted to obtain something from Shin Tong-woo, or perhaps he wanted to obtain the recognition of the ice domain. In that way, he would be able to establish a connection between this clone of his and his true body, allowing his strength to directly break through the restraints of the laws and erupt with the strength of a Tao Exalt. Qin wouldn't be a match for him at all once he was able to erupt with the strength of the Sovereign of Truth. This wasn't like the evil Buddha dragon that Qin had defeated earlier. There was no doubt about its strength, but the evil Buddha dragon that Qin had defeated was merely a relic of the evil Buddha dragon. The evil Buddha dragon only possessed the strength within the relic, and it could be said to be a rootless source. Without the support of its true body, the evil Buddha dragon's strength was far less terrifying. Coupled with the fact that the evil Buddha dragon had taken Qin into the world within the evil Buddha dragon's palm, Qin could fearlessly devour the evil Buddha dragon's strength. That was why Qin had been able to defeat the evil Buddha dragon so easily. Chapter 2149. Give me the evil dragon's relic. Meanwhile, Shui Xianer spoke. Her main objective for coming to the lower dimensions was to obtain the ancient evil Buddha dragon's relic. It was her most important mission, and everything else had to be tossed aside. Now that she was facing such a terrifying enemy, she really didn't want to become enemies with the Exalt Tao Defiance. After all, the Exalt Tao Defiance were extremely terrifying enemies. Even though she could leave if she failed, she would lose her chance to obtain the evil dragon's relic. That was exactly why she'd raised a condition to Yang Hanwu when she heard Yang Hanwu speak, and it was to obtain the evil dragon's relic first. No. Yang Hanwu said, I'll naturally give you the evil dragon's relic once we're done with the Exalt Tao Defiance. But I absolutely can't do that now. I'll be in huge trouble if you leave right away after I give you the evil dragon's relic. Even though Yang Hanwu was extremely confident in his own strength, he was in danger right now. If he had a formidable helper like Shui Xian'er, then it would be much easier for him to deal with the Exalt Tao Defiance. However, if Shui Xian'er left right away, then he would lose a formidable helper. In that way, it wouldn't be so easy to deal with the Exalt Tao Defiance. I won't. Give me the evil dragon's relic and I'll help you keep the Exalt Tao Defiance busy. After all, the Exalt Tao Defiance are extremely formidable, and they're even stronger than the evil dragon's relic. I don't want to offend such an expert before I obtain the evil dragon's relic. I'll leave if you refuse to give me the evil dragon's relic, said Shui Xian'er. She was sure that Yang Hanwu didn't want her to leave right now. Because once she left, then Yang Hanwu and Icy Dance would absolutely not be a match for the Exalt Tao Defiance. You're unwilling? A cold glow flashed through Yang Hanwu's eyes as he said, You can leave if you're unwilling to help me. I'm not without any other methods. I can use the evil dragon's relic. You? Shui Xian'er was infuriated by Yang Hanwu's actions. She could tell that Yang Hanwu could really make use of the evil dragon relic because Yang Hanwu had many trump cards. It wasn't impossible for him to make use of the evil dragon relic. What? You're still not leaving? Shui Xian'er had seen through Yang Hanwu's weakness, but Yang Hanwu had also seen through how important the evil dragon relic was to Shui Xian'er. In other words, the evil dragon relic was very important to Shui Xian'er's master. It was very likely that the evil dragon relic was the key to Shui Xian'er's breakthrough. The Saint Yuan sect would probably pay any price to obtain this relic. You win. I'll teach you a lesson if you don't give me the evil dragon relics after I defeat the Exalt Tao Defiance. Shui Xian'er spoke coldly, however, I don't believe you. You have to swear that you'll give me the evil dragon Seraro once we capture the Exalt Tao Defiance. All right. Yang Hanwu nodded and swore an oath. It wasn't a loss to Yang Hanwu at all. An oath didn't restrict him at all. Conversely, an oath like this was extremely restrictive to Shui Xian'er. After Yang Hanwu swore an oath, Shui Xian'er joined the battle and joined forces with Icy Dance to resist the Exalt Tao Defiance. However, the Exalt Tao Defiance strength was extremely formidable and domineering. Even if Shui Xian'er and Icy Dance joined forces, they were only able to resist the Exalt Tao Defiance attacks and weren't able to gain the upper hand. Both of you can't stop me. Just surrender obediently. The Exalt Tao Defiance roared with laughter. Yang Hanwu, you have to pay the price if you want to rescue the Holy Demoness. Hand over the energy of your bloodline. Dream on. Yang Hanwu spoke coldly. Meanwhile, Yang Hanwu sent Jing Qiushuang into his common people's world. Jing Qiushuang hadn't recovered fully, so sending her into his common people's world to cultivate was the best choice. At this moment, he had nothing to worry about. Yang Hanwu stared at the Exalt Tao Defiance while a cold glow flickered in his eyes. The Exalt Tao Defiance had finally made an appearance. Now that the Exalt Tao Defiance had made an appearance, he was much easier to deal with compared to when the Exalt Tao Defiance were hiding in the shadows. After all, if the Exalt Tao Defiance didn't show themselves, then Yang Hanwu would have to be on guard at all times. Exalt Tao Defiance, I can spare your life if you release Zi Xintong obediently. Otherwise, I'll beat this clone of yours to death. Yang Hanwu spoke coldly, since I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time. What high-sounding sentiments. A trace of a smile curled up on the corners of the Exalt Tao Defiant's mouth. Since you're unwilling to give up a portion of your bloodline, then I have no choice but to kill Zi Xintong. Is that so? Meanwhile, Yang Hongwu laughed. Do you really think I don't know where Zi Xintong is? As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and then a spatial rift appeared. There was a door within the spatial rift. There was a passageway within the door, and Zi Xintong was within it. A Tao-defiant space. Impossible. How could you possibly have opened up my Tao-defiant space? The Exalt Tao Defiance couldn't remain calm when he witnessed this scene. Yang Hongwu was actually able to open up his Tao-defiant space. How terrifying was that? If news of this were to spread and a Tao Exalt Realm expert possessed such a secret technique, then it would be a lethal threat to the Exalt Tao Defiance. The Tao-defiant space was his foundation. For any expert in the Tao Master Realm, their inner world was their root. If their foundation could be opened up at any moment and exposed to their enemies, then it would be terrifying. This meant that if their enemies wanted to attack, then they could do so with ease. The Exalt Tao Defiance stared fixedly at Yang Hongwu, and he even gave up on attacking Bing Shuawu and Shui Xian'er. He just stared fixedly at Yang Hongwu. In his opinion, the greatest threat right now was Yang Hongwu, and he had to kill Yang Hongwu no matter what. He had to kill such a terrifying existence. He knew that it wasn't easy to kill Yang Hongwu. If it wasn't for that, then he wouldn't have spent so much effort to lock Zi Xintong into his Tao-defiant space. Yang Hongwu, I truly never expected that you would actually have so many trump cards hidden up your sleeves. However, this proves that the energy of your bloodline is extremely formidable. So long as I seize it, then my strength will improve greatly, and I'll be able to break through the bottleneck and break through the shackles of my bloodline. The Exalt Tao Defiance spoke coldly. I didn't want to pay such a huge price in the beginning, but I'm willing to pay it now. No matter how huge the price is, it's worth it. So long as I can seize the energy of your bloodline, then it's enough. You want to kill me? You're dreaming. Do you realize that? Yang Hongwu spoke indifferently. My strength and my limits are beyond your imagination. At Bika Library. Chapter 2150. Is that so? Let me see if your strength is really as you say it is. The Exalt Tao Defiance laughed coldly without end. He's just a mere overlord, so what if he's strong? No matter how heaven-defying his combat strength was, there was a limit to it in the end. It was utterly impossible to go against a Tao monarch, let alone a Tao Exalt. Presently, he was only a clone. Even though his combat strength couldn't compare to his main body, it was still absolutely capable of going against an ordinary Tao Exalt. Yang Hongwu could go against him. At the very least, that was what he thought. However, he would have to pay a huge price to do so. Tao-defiant space, open. The Exalt Tao Defiant roared furiously as he forcefully opened up a passageway. It was a passageway to the Tao-defiant space, but it led towards his main body. He'd intended to utilize the quintessence of the Ice Saint region and the Ice Saint region as a foundation to open up a passageway. In that way, he wouldn't have to exhaust his own strength. But never had he imagined that Yang Hongwu would actually directly open up a passageway. He'd never imagined that Yang Hongwu would be able to open up a passageway in his inner world. That was exactly why he had no choice but to open up a passageway and establish a connection with his main body so that he could rely on his main body's strength. He was very clearly aware that if he didn't rely on his main body's strength, then he wouldn't be able to deal with Yang Hongwu and seize his bloodline energy. Shit! Stop him! He intends to communicate with his main body. Zi Xintong cried out loudly when she witnessed this scene. Stop him! At this moment, Shui Xian'er had noticed as well. She was very clearly aware of how terrifying the strength of the Exalt Tao Defiant's main body was. Even if the Exalt Tao Defiant was restricted by the laws of the lower god domain, it was impossible for him to communicate with his main body. It was impossible to stop him. After all, the Exalt Tao Defiant's strength was too terrifying. It was even to the extent that Exalt Tao Defiants were top-rate existences in the god domain, and they were one of the strongest amongst the Tao Exalts. Even though their strengths weren't bad and were capable of going against half-step Tao Exalts, and it was even to the extent that they could rely on the laws of the lower God domain to go against ordinary Tao Exalts of the lower God domain, it was impossible for them to resist a terrifying existence like the Exalt Tao Defiant. It was simply impossible for Shui Xian'er to withstand it. Even if Shui Xian'er was willing to use the trump card her master had left for her, she would still not be able to defeat him. So, they absolutely couldn't allow the exalted Tao Defiants to communicate with their main bodies, otherwise, it would be extremely troublesome. Alright. After they noticed this scene, Icy Dance and the others attacked in unison, and their target was the Exalt Tao Defiants. On the other hand, Yang Hanwu attacked at the same time. However, his target wasn't the Exalt Tao Defiants, and it was the passageway that the Exalt Tao Defiants had opened up. Yang Hongwu's current strength was already at the Sovereign Realm. Although he was still far from the Tao Lord Realm, Yang Hongwu's understanding of the Tao of space was enough to pose a threat to the spatial channel. Of course, the key was that the Exalt Tao Defiant's main body was extremely far away from the divine domain of ice. It was exactly this distance that made the Exalt Tao Defiant's main body unable to easily transfer his strength to his clone. That was exactly why this clone of the Exalt Tao Defiance wanted to seize the quintessence of the divine domain of ice and rely on its quintessence to open up a passageway and transfer the strength of his main body over. At this moment, an expert grunted lightly in the depths of the boundless space. How audacious! You actually intend to stop me? It was none other than the Exalt Tao Defiance main body. The Exalt Tao Defiance was formidable, but he'd been stuck at the peak of the Tao Exalt realm in the end. He'd been unable to advance any further for countless years. For the sake of improving himself, he'd separated his inner demons and sent them into countless planes. After that, he'd created countless clones and used them to refine his inner demons. Once all his inner demons were refined and fused with his clones, the Exalt Tao Defiance would fuse with his clones. Once all his clones had fused with his main body's strength would rise to a new level and break through the Tao Exalt realm. However, he'd never imagined that his inner demons would actually be killed and refined by someone else. Even his clone had been killed and refined by someone else. In that way, his cultivation technique and plans weren't perfect. That was why he'd sent another powerful clone to the lower world's divine domain to find and deal with the person who'd refined his inner demons. Only by killing the person who'd refined his inner demons and fusing them into his own body could his cultivation technique be perfected. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any hope of breaking through. After all, it wasn't easy to break through to the Tao Exalt realm. Since ancient times, very few people had been able to break through the shackles of the Tao Exalt realm. The realm above the Tao Exalt realm could be said to be a legendary existence. However, they knew that there was indeed a higher realm above the Tao Exalt realm. It was just too difficult to break through this realm. However, for cultivators, especially those who'd reached the peak of the Tao Exalt realm, their goal was to break through the bottleneck and enter the legendary higher realm. They called the realm above the Tao Exalt realm Great Tao Exalt realm. It was the dream of all cultivators in the Tao Exalt realm. It wasn't that there weren't any great Tao Exalts in the divine domain, but those great Tao Exalts were hidden within the divine domain. They'd never made an appearance, and no one had ever seen them. However, the divine domain would send down a decree of the great Tao every single time the divine domain experienced a calamity. That was why they knew about the great Tao Exalt realm. In the opinion of the Exalt Tao Defiance, his all-heaven inner demon technique had actually been cultivated to the final level. In other words, he only had a few inner demons that hadn't been refined and fused into his body. One of them was the inner demon in the divine domain of the lower world, and it was the most crucial inner demon for him. Even though it wasn't strong, it was the crux of the matter. The energy of the inner demon was something he'd fused with. The inner demon was the crux of fusing the energy of all his clones and attaining perfection. But he'd never expected that his inner demon clone would actually be killed at the critical moment, and it was even to the extent that even his clones had been dealt with. In that way, it meant that he was unable to fuse his inner demons and clones, and he was unable to cultivate the technique to perfection. So, Yang Hanwu could be said to be the greatest enemy of the Exalt Tao Defiance, and he was the crux of his path to attaining the Tao. Only by killing Yang Hanwu, refining him, and fusing him with himself would he be able to break through his shackles, break through his limits, and become a great Tao Exalt. If you want to chat about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow me on WeChat. Chat about life, find friends. Chapter 2151. He has the aura of my inner demon clone. After he noticed Yang Hongwu's aura, the Exalt Tao Defiance eyes narrowed, and he figured out why his clone had opened up the passageway and relied on his strength. It was for the sake of dealing with this kid. However, this fellow was merely at the Overlord realm, yet his clone was actually unable to deal with him. That was especially surprising to him. Since Qin was able to refine his inner demon and kill his clone while at the Overlord realm, then Qin's strength was definitely formidable. Qin was probably the reincarnation of a supreme expert. If Qin was really the reincarnation of a supreme expert, then it wouldn't be easy to deal with him. However, in the Exalt Tao Defiance opinion, no matter who it was, even if it was the reincarnation of a peerless expert, anyone who dared to obstruct him from attaining the Tao was his enemy, and he would fight to the death. What a terrifying aura! Yang Hanwu saw the Exalt Tao Defiance true body through this passageway. It was an extremely mighty expert who possessed an extremely terrifying aura, and Yang Hanwu was able to sense how terrifying the Exalt Tao Defiant was even from so far away. Kid, how audacious of you to dare attack my clone. Meanwhile, a voice resounded. It was the voice of the Exalt Tao Defiant's main body, and it entered into Yang Hongwu's ears. So what if I did? Yang Hanwu spoke coldly, since you want to attack me, then you should be prepared to be killed by me. What high-sounding sentiments. Kid, you're just a mere overlord, yet you dare to act so arrogantly? I'll remember you. Spatial cage. Seal it up. Yang Hanwu didn't want the energy of the Exalt Tao Defiant's main body to pass through the passageway. So, he'd utilized a formidable force and the laws of space to seal the spatial passageway. Damn it. The Exalt Tao Defiant sensed that the spatial passageway was gradually being sealed up, and his energy hadn't been able to pass through. This made him feel extremely annoyed. The spatial Tao. This kid has actually comprehended the spatial Tao and utilized such a formidable spatial technique to stop my energy from passing through. Brat, you can't stop me. As the Exalt Tao Defiant spoke, powerful energy tore through the restraints of space and shot towards his clone. However, the process of transmission consumed a huge amount of energy. But even then, so long as sufficient energy was transmitted to the Exalt Tao Defiant, then he would be able to deal with Yang Hanwu. You want to transfer your mana over? Yang Hanwu smiled. Inside the passageway, there was a tremendous amount of energy, which was enough to create a half-step Tao Master expert. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't be able to handle such a situation. However, Yang Hanwu didn't have to worry about it. This majestic power had to pass through this space. It had to be transmitted through this spatial passageway. Because this expansive space had been completely isolated by Yang Hanwu. So, only this passageway could allow this formidable energy to be transmitted into the Exalt Tao Defiance clone and allow the Exalt Tao Defiance clone's strength to improve tremendously. Once that strand of energy entered the body of the Exalt Tao Defiance clone, the strength of the Exalt Tao Defiance clone would rise tremendously. In that way, the four of them wouldn't be able to resist the Exalt Tao Defiance attacks even if they joined forces. However, Yang Hanwu was confident enough to do so. Devouring Furnace. Open! Yang Hanwu laughed coldly, and then he opened his devouring furnace within the spatial passageway. The enormous furnace erupted with terrifying devouring energy after it appeared within the spatial passageway, and it started to madly devour the energy that the Exalt Tao Defiant sent over. Actually, this energy had an owner, and it was the energy of a Supreme Tao Exalt. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to devour and refine this energy at all unless that person allowed the person to do so intentionally. However, Yang Hanwu could do it. His devouring furnace could devour and refine all energy. Moreover, it wouldn't cause any harm or trouble to the user after it was devoured and refined. This was what was truly frightening, what was truly terrifying. Presently, Yang Hongwu's devouring furnace hadn't reached its limits, and it hadn't reached its most formidable state. If the devouring furnace reached its most terrifying state, then it would be able to directly devour the quintessence energy within the Exalt Tao Defiance inner world. That would be truly terrifying. Just imagine how terrifying it would be for a person to be able to directly devour the quintessence energy within the Exalt Tao Defiance inner world without doing anything. Damn it! What's going on? The expression of the Exalt Tao Defiance clone changed drastically because he noticed that space had been sealed off. The space in the surroundings had been completely sealed off, and there was only a single passageway. He'd paid a huge price to open it up, but now, Yang Hanwu had obstructed it and stood before him. He could sense that the energy of his main body was within this passageway. It was his main body that was sending boundless energy through the passageway. However, it just so happened that he didn't receive any energy. His strength didn't improve, and it was constantly being consumed instead. If this continued, then he wouldn't have enough energy. He didn't think that his main body wasn't sending any energy over. Bastard! How is this possible? At this moment, he finally realized the current situation. The reason his energy wasn't able to reach his main body was because it had been devoured and refined by Yang Hanwu, and it couldn't be sent over through the passageway at all. Thank you. You really are a good person. I was just worried that I wouldn't have enough energy to break through. Thank you. At this moment, Yang Hanwu was extremely happy. The boundless energy was an enormous help to him, and it allowed his strength to advance by leaps and bounds. After all, the cultivation technique he cultivated was special, and so was his physique. So, it was extremely difficult for his strength to improve. After all, every single advancement in his cultivation consumed an enormous amount of energy. The Exalt Tao Defiant was instantly infuriated when he heard Yang Hanwu. My energy has been stolen by this damnable thief. At this moment, his eyes were burning with rage. He was very clearly aware that his main body had paid a huge price to send his energy over so that he could capture Yang Hanwu and seize his bloodline energy and inner demons. But it just so happened that Yang Hanwu had forcefully seized his energy, so how could he not be furious? He was a dignified peak Tao Exalt, yet he'd actually been played and ridiculed by a mere sovereign realm cultivator. So, how could he not be furious? You're courting death. Do you realize that? You've offended me, the Exalt Tao Defiant, and there'll be no place for you in the universe. Chapter 2152. How audacious of you to dare to provoke a peak Tao Exalt like this. Shui Xian'er was extremely shocked when she saw Yang Hanwu act so presumptuously. After all, even she didn't dare to provoke a peak Tao Exalt like this. Even if it was only a clone, it was still the clone of a peak Tao Exalt in the end. Even killing this clone was equivalent to offending a peak Tao Exalt. Even her master didn't dare to rashly offend such a terrifying existence like the Exalt Tao Defiance, but Yang Hanwu actually didn't care at all and acted so presumptuously. In this way, Yang Hanwu and the Exalt Tao Defiance had probably become mortal enemies. He really doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and the earth. That's a peak Tao Exalt. Shui Shui was extremely shocked as well. Even though she was only at the Tao Monarch realm, she had some understanding of the Tao Exalt realm. She'd once obtained the inheritance of a Tao Exalt, so she naturally knew how terrifying Tao Exalts were. The gap between Tao Exalts and Tao Monarchs at the Tao Monarch realm was like the gap between the heavens and the earth. Even peak Tao Monarchs, half-step Tao Exalts, and true righteous Tao Exalts couldn't compare at all. Defeating the clone of a Tao Exalt under normal circumstances was understandable. However, if he repeatedly humiliated the clone of a Tao Exalt, then it was equivalent to completely offending the Tao Exalt. Yang Hongwu's actions meant that he'd become mortal enemies with the Exalt Tao Defiance. Presently, Yang Hongwu's cultivation was only at the ruler realm. No matter how formidable his strength was or how shocking his natural talent was, it was impossible for him to fight a Tao Exalt while at the ruler realm. Actually, they weren't aware that regardless of whether Yang Hanwu had humiliated the Exalt Dao Defiance or not, he'd become an irreconcilable enemy of the Exalt Dao Defiance. He'd arrived at a state where only one of them could survive. As for now, Yang Hanwu had devoured and refined the powerful energy that the Exalt Dao Defiance sent over, and it was extremely helpful to Yang Hanwu because it could improve his cultivation. Yang Hanwu knew very well that it was very difficult for him to improve his cultivation. He needed to consume too many resources. Previously, when he had become the master of the common people's god realm, he had obtained a lot of resources, which had greatly improved his cultivation. In fact, these resources were enough for a Venerate to directly break through to the Tao Lord realm, or even reach the peak of the Tao Lord realm. However, for Yang Hanwu, it was only enough to raise his cultivation to the ruler realm. Now, every time he advanced by a small realm, he would need to consume enough resources to make a sovereign realm warrior reach the Tao Lord realm. This showed how terrifying the resources he needed to cultivate were. Most likely, the resources needed by a Tao Master to advance by a small realm would only be enough for him to advance by a small realm in the sovereign realm. Not enough, not enough. Yang Hanwu sighed in his heart when he sensed that the energy coming from the Exalt Dao Defiance was growing weaker and weaker. The Exalt Dao Defiance had cut off the energy from the Exalt Dao Defiance, so it meant that he didn't have the chance to rely on the Exalt Dao Defiance to improve his cultivation. Of course, to Yang Hanwu, this was already a huge profit. After all, to be able to obtain such a huge benefit under such circumstances was something that could only be encountered and not sought after. Exalt Dao Defiance, right? What other methods do you have now? It's time for you to use them, right? At this moment, Yang Hanwu had completely sealed off the passageway. The Exalt Dao Defiance main body was too far away from here. Even if the Exalt Dao Defiance main body was extremely formidable, it was impossible for him to rush over here in a short period of time. Moreover, even if he could rush over here, the laws of the God Domain wouldn't allow him to enter this world as a Dao Exalt. The God Domain wasn't so simple. Unless one surpassed the Dao Exalt realm and became a true Dao Exalt, then perhaps one could directly enter this world and the God Domain of Ice. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible. Bastard. The Exalt Dao Defiance clone gazed at Yang Hanwu. This time, he really had no other choice. He'd paid a huge price to open up the passageway earlier, but he just happened to be unable to obtain the energy from his main body, causing his strength to decrease greatly. At this moment, he didn't have the strength to fight at all, and he could only fight one person at most. Presently, his enemies weren't just a single expert, there were 3 Dao monarchs and a terrifying Yang Hanwu. He was utterly unable to resist the 4 of them. Little bastard, don't be too complacent. I'm just a clone. My main body is at the peak of the Dao Exalt realm, and it's only a step away from surpassing the Dao Exalt realm and entering an even higher realm. It's not an existence that you can imagine. If you're sensible, then take your own life right now. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Once my main body captures you, then it'll be difficult for you to even die. Do you know that? The Exalt Dao Defiance clone stared at Yang Hanwu while a cold glow flickered in his eyes. So what? All I know is that you're going to die now. Yang Hanwu spoke coldly. He didn't care about the Exalt Dao Defiance threat at all. It was simply a joke to ask him to take his own life. Did the Exalt Dao Defiance think he was an idiot? Moreover, this fellow was only a clone right now, and a mere clone would definitely die. So, if Jinshi killed this clone and left this true spirit behind, then perhaps he would be able to scheme against the Exalt Dao Defiance. At that time, he wouldn't have to fear the Exalt Dao Defiance main body once his cultivation improved further and attained the late stage of the Dao Monarch realm. However, Yang Hanwu was clearly aware that he didn't know how long it would take for him to attain the Dao Monarch realm. Of course, he might be able to accomplish it with ease if he had sufficient resources. However, how could resources for cultivation be so easily obtained? Especially when it was such an enormous amount of resources, it was even more difficult. No matter what, the Exalt Dao Defiance clone had to be killed. Let's attack together and kill him. said Yang Hongwu. Don't you dare. The Exalt Dao Defiance berated loudly. This kid and I are irreconcilable enemies. Do all of you intend to join forces with him? I'm just a clone, but my main body is a peak Dao Exalt. It's a supreme existence that roams freely through the God domain. My main body won't let all of you go if you dare to kill me. As soon as the Exalt Dao Defiance spoke, Shui Xian'er and Shui Shui instantly stopped moving. They really didn't dare to offend such a terrifying expert. Even if Shui Xian'er's master was the sect master of the Saint Origin sect and a Dao Exalt, there was still a gap between her master and the Exalt Dao Defiance. Chapter 2153. What are you afraid of? Meanwhile, Yang Hongwu said, even if we don't attack and kill this clone of his, would he let us go? All of you are too naive. If news of this were to spread, then it would be a huge humiliation to the Exalt Dao Defiance. So, he won't let us go no matter what. Now, we have no choice but to kill this clone of his. In that way, even though we wouldn't be able to deal a lethal blow to his true body, we would be able to injure his true body quite severely and require time to recover. In that way, we'll be able to buy enough time. So long as my cultivation breaks through to the Dao Monarch realm, then even if the Exalt Dao Defiance is at the peak of the Dao Monarch realm, I wouldn't fear him so long as he hasn't surpassed the Dao Monarch realm. Shui Xian'er and the others recovered from their shock when they heard Yang Hongwu. She was a smart person, so she naturally knew what Yang Hongwu meant. At the level of the Exalt Dao Defiance, the Exalt Dao Defiance attached great importance to their reputation. Now that the four of them had caused such a huge blow to the Exalt Dao Defiance, it was absolutely impossible for the Exalt Dao Defiance to not make a fuss about it. However, if they didn't give up now and fought the Exalt Dao Defiance to the death, then it would be equivalent to completely offending such a terrifying expert. There would be no room for negotiation at all, and that was what she was worried about. As for whether Yang Hongwu would be able to fight the Exalt Dao Defiance once he attained the Dao Monarch realm, Shui Xian'er didn't know. However, she was certain that if Yang Hongwu really attained the Dao Monarch realm, then he really might be able to fight Dao Monarchs. Of course, if he was able to attain the Dao Monarch realm, then he might become an invincible Dao Monarch. However, that was still too far away for Shui Xian'er. Now, there was another problem. Her master wanted to obtain the ancient evil Buddha dragon's relic, and it was in Yang Hongwu's possession. If she wanted to obtain it, then she absolutely couldn't give up on it now. She hesitated. If that was the case, then contacting her master was the best method. A myriad of thoughts flashed through her mind in an instant, and then she quickly made her decision to contact her master. She took out a messaging jade amulet. This messaging jade amulet was extremely precious, as it could be used to contact her master across major worlds. In the entire Saint Yuan sect, her master had only given her 3 such communication jade talismans. She had one because she was her master's last disciple. However, she wasn't able to make a decision right now. Because she knew that Yang Hongwu wouldn't give the relic to her so easily. Moreover, she had to fight the Exalt Dao Defiance to the death if she wanted the relic. In that way, she would offend such a terrifying enemy. So, she couldn't make the decision, and only her master could. The communication jade talisman was activated. She quickly contacted her master, Dao Sovereign Xing Yuan. Master. Xian'er, have you completed your mission? Dao Sovereign Xing Yuan was very happy when he received Shui Xian'er's message. No, that's not it. I've encountered a huge problem. The evil dragon relic is in the possession of a cultivator called Yang Hongwu. He's a formidable genius who can fight against the Dao Lord as a sovereign. However, he isn't willing to give the relic to me so easily. If I want to obtain the relic, I have to offend someone. Shui Xian'er said. Offend who? I must obtain the relic. It's the key to my Dao and the key to my breakthrough into the great Dao sovereign realm. Dao Sovereign Xing Yuan said, it doesn't matter who I offend. But master, that person is a Dao defiant. Shui Xian'er said. A Dao defiant? Dao Venerate Xing Yuan hesitated slightly when he heard this. Venerate Tao Defiance were extremely terrifying existences. He naturally knew that if he was the ruler of an area in the all heavens, then Venerate Tao Defiance would be one of the strongest existences in the all heavens. If they really had to fight, he wouldn't be a match for a Tao Defiant at all. Don't tell me you can't kill that cultivator called Yan Hongwu? Tao Sovereign Sheng Yuan said. That's impossible. It's too difficult. He's only a sovereign, but he can fight a Tao Lord. Moreover, he's a peak Tao Lord, a half-step Tao Sovereign. Even a clone of a Tao Defiant was suppressed by him to the point of suffocation. Even the power that the Tao Defiant's true body transmitted to him was refined by him. Shui Xian'er shook her head. Since that's the case, let's join forces with him and obtain the evil dragon relic first. Once I obtain it, my cultivation will improve greatly. At that time, even a Tao Defiant won't be a match for me. Tao Sovereign Sheng Yuan said. Tao Sovereign Sheng Yuan wasn't an ordinary person. He was very clearly aware that a sovereign was actually able to go against a half-step Tao Sovereign. How heaven-defying was such a person? Moreover, he didn't take the Tao Defiant seriously. That was sufficient to prove that he had a terrifying power and a formidable backer standing behind him. That backer wasn't afraid of the Tao Defiant at all, and it might even be a great Tao Sovereign. In that case, offending the Tao Defiant while being on good terms with Yang Hanwu wasn't a bad thing. Conversely, it might be an extremely great fortuitous encounter for him. After the communication talisman was cut off, Shui Xian'er looked at Yang Hanwu and the Tao Defiant. At this moment, Icy Dance had attacked. She'd originally intended to give up on going against the Tao Defiant, but she had to help Yang Hanwu if she wanted to obtain the complete inheritance of the Ice Dominion and advance to the Tao Sovereign Realm. Because Yang Hanwu had obtained the inheritance of Ice Dragon Mountain. Moreover, his woman, Zi Xintong, had also obtained a portion of the inheritance of the Ice Dominion. If she offended Yang Hanwu, then it would be impossible for her to obtain that portion of the inheritance. In that case, her path of improvement would be severed. Moreover, the sacred Ice Sither told her that Yang Hanwu wasn't just that. His karmic luck was too terrifying. He possessed something that could suppress the sacred Ice Sither. If she attacked him, then the sacred Ice Sither might be suppressed and seized. Damn it! You're courting death. I won't let you go. Remember this. Ice Dominion, Saint Origin Sect, Saint Devil Clan. I'll remember all of you. The Tao Defiant roared furiously. He was completely out of options. If it was just Yang Hanwu, then the Tao Defiant would still be able to escape. After all, Yang Hongwu's strength alone wasn't enough. However, it was completely different with Zi Xintong, Shui Xian'er, and Icy Dance. All three of them were Tao Lords and possessed treasures. Moreover, the Tao Defiant had exhausted a huge amount of energy to open the passageway. Moreover, the Tao Defiant's strength had been devoured and refined by Yang Hanwu through the passageway. As a result, he was no longer a match for Yang Hanwu. Chapter 2154. You still dare to be arrogant at a time like this? It's just a clone. So what if I kill you? I wouldn't be afraid even if your true body came. Yang Hanwu grunted coldly as he clawed with his hand. Terrifying energy erupted and instantly grabbed the Exalt Tao Defiance clone into the furnace. The Exalt Tao Defiance clone didn't have any room to resist at all because Yang Hanwu wasn't someone that a heavily injured clone like the Exalt Tao Defiant could go against. Bastard! You're courting death. I won't let you go. When Yang Hanwu swallowed the clone into the furnace, a curse erupted and invaded Yang Hanwu's body. It was a curse brand that the Exalt Tao Defiance clone had exhausted the last of his strength to condense. It didn't possess any lethality, and it didn't harm Yang Hanwu at all. Instead, it helped Yang Hanwu refine and absorb the energy of the Exalt Tao Defiance clone. However, it left behind a unique aura on Yang Hanwu, and it allowed the Exalt Tao Defiant's true body to locate Yang Hanwu. So, the Exalt Tao Defiant could find Yang Hanwu no matter where he was. Yang Hanwu noticed that, and he frowned slightly. Yang Hanwu wasn't able to eliminate the curse mark. At the very least, it was impossible for him to eliminate the aura of the mark in a short period of time. It would take at least half a year to eliminate the aura of the mark. So, he had to improve his strength once more during this period of time. Otherwise, even if Yang Hongwu could find the women and find a way to return to Earth, he wouldn't dare to do so. After all, he had such a terrifying enemy. If he returned, then the entire Earth would probably be finished before the terrifying strength of the Tao Defiant. Now that the clone of the Tao Defiant has been killed, where's the thing I want? Shui Xian'er gazed at Yang Hongwu after she saw that he'd dealt with the clone of the Tao Defiant. In Shui Xian'er's opinion, even though she hadn't done much to kill the Exalt Tao Defiance, she'd completely offended the Exalt Tao Defiance. So, she'd paid a huge price for the sake of obtaining the evil dragon relic, and it would be a huge loss if she couldn't even obtain the relic. So, she had to obtain the relic from Yang Hongwu no matter what. Here. This time, Yang Hongwu didn't say anything and just tossed the relic to Shui Xian'er. Even though it could improve his strength slightly, it wouldn't be able to improve it by too much. Of course, he could give it to his women so that their strengths would improve greatly, and it wouldn't be impossible for them to attain the Tao Monarch realm. However, since he'd agreed, then he naturally wouldn't go back on his word. Moreover, based on Shui Xian'er's tone, she was determined to obtain the relic. Or perhaps, it was something that her master was determined to obtain. If he forcefully refused to give it to her, then it would be equivalent to offending another formidable sect and gaining another formidable enemy. In Yang Hongwu's opinion, that wasn't worth it. It really is the evil dragon relic. Thank you. Shui Xian'er glanced at the relic in her hand, and then she nodded after she confirmed it. The relic was too important to her master. If it wasn't for that, then she wouldn't have paid such a huge price and offended a terrifying figure like the Tao Defiant for a mere relic. After all, even though the relic was precious, it wasn't worth it to make such a terrifying enemy. However, it was extremely important to Sheng Yuan because the relic contained the fortune that would allow him to break through into the Tao Monarch realm. Even though it was only a trace of fortune, it was still worth it. After all, wasn't cultivation for the sake of breaking through to an even higher level and enter that legendary realm? There's no need for that. It's just mutually beneficial to both of us. You deserve it, said Yang Hongwu. Since I've obtained what I came for, then it's time for me to leave. Shui Xian'er continued, now that we're friends, I have to remind you that the Tao Defiance clone executed a curse and left a mark on you when you killed it. You can't remove that mark, and the Tao Defiance true body can rely on that mark to locate you. He'll be able to find you no matter where you are. Unless you're able to obtain the help of a peak Tao Monarch realm expert who can temporarily seal the aura of the curse mark. But even then, the seal can't be sealed forever. I know that. Thank you for the reminder. Yang Hongwu nodded. Yang Hongwu was rather surprised by Shui Xian'er's reminder. She really was knowledgeable. After all, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to see through the curse mark executed by the Tao Defiance clone, but she was actually able to see through it. That was enough to show that she wasn't simple. However, since she was able to become the elite disciple of a peak Tao Monarch, then she was naturally not simple. So, it was normal for her to possess such knowledge. It's good that you know, said Shui Xian'er. If you're willing to join my Saint Origin sect and become a disciple of my Saint Origin sect, then I can plead with my master and ask him to temporarily seal that curse mark for you. There's no need for that. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, however, I still have to thank you for your kind intentions. Even though the Tao Defiant is strong, he won't be able to come to the God domain in a short period of time. So, I don't have to worry about him for now. Moreover, even though the Tao Defiant is strong, I'm not that easy to bully. I'm only a Tao Monarch. Perhaps I would fear him if he's an existence that surpasses the Tao Monarch realm. No, it's not as simple as you think. According to rumor, the Tao Defiant has found a way to break through. Even if he hasn't arrived at that legendary level, he's probably not too far away. Shui Xian'er continued, of course, I won't say anything else since you're confident. You can come to my Saint Origin sect if you come to the higher dimensions. As soon as she finished speaking, Shui Xian'er crushed a talisman. It was a teleportation talisman, and it opened up a passageway. Shui Xian'er glanced at Yang Hongwu and the others before she turned around and stepped into the passageway. You should agree to her request. Meanwhile, Zi Xintong spoke, the Dao Defiant is really strong. We won't be able to fight the Dao Defiant in a short period of time. If you have the protection of the Saint Origin sect, then you'll have a lot more time and energy. It's fine. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, I know what to do. Yang Hongwu, I've dealt with your matter. Now, it's time to deal with the matter between us. I need the quintessence of the Ice Saint Domain and Ice Dragon Mountain. Shui Shui looked at Yang Hongwu and said, that's a part of the inheritance of the Ice Saint Domain. You should know that it's useless to you. Chapter 2155. What can you give us? Zi Xintong asked. You should know the importance of the Ice Dominion's inheritance. How can we give something so precious away so easily? If you don't have enough sincerity, then there's no need to say anything more. You can make the decision. Icy Dance said coldly. This is a deal between me and Yang Hongwu. It has nothing to do with you. After saying that, Icy Dance looked at Yang Hongwu. After all, only Yang Hongwu could make the decision on this matter. However, she also knew that Yang Hongwu wouldn't hand it over so easily. After all, the Ice Dominion's inheritance was too precious. Of course, Icy Dance was determined to obtain it. Even if she had to pay a hefty price, it was fine. I can give you the inheritance. Yang Hongwu looked at Icy Dance and said, but what will you give me in exchange? Yang Hongwu didn't have a good relationship with Icy Dance. It was impossible for him to hand over the inheritance so easily. At the very least, he had to obtain some benefits. Icy Dance frowned slightly. She looked at Yang Hongwu and said, what do you want? What are your conditions? Tell me. As long as I have it, I can give it to you. Icy Dance heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Yang Hongwu's words. To Icy Dance, it was fine as long as Yang Hongwu didn't refuse. After all, if Yang Hongwu refused, it meant that she could only fight with Yang Hongwu. However, from the battle just now, Yang Hongwu was very powerful. He wouldn't be so easy to defeat. If they fought, she didn't have enough confidence to defeat Yang Hongwu and obtain the other part of the inheritance. Yang Hongwu was silent for a moment, then said, what do you have? Since it was a deal, then everything should be laid out on the table. Icy Dance hesitated for a moment, then said, the inheritance of the Ice Dominion is very precious. There's no doubt about that. However, the Ice Dominion and Ice Dragon Mountain can't be compared to the complete inheritance. After all, it's only a part. However, it's very important to me. I must obtain it. Therefore, I'm willing to use the most precious thing I have to exchange for it. As she spoke, Icy Dance took out an item. It was a jade box. This jade box was very precious. There were ancient and mysterious runes on it. The item inside the box was filled with vitality. Yang Hongwu was incomparably shocked. He couldn't see through it even with his eye technique. However, there was one thing that was certain. The item inside the box wasn't that simple. There is a green lotus seed in this box. It's the seed of the great 36 green lotus of creation. Icy Dance. Yang Hongwu's eyes widened. The seed of the green lotus of creation was definitely very precious. Moreover, this seed was very useful to Yang Hongwu because he had the red lotus of karmic fire. In fact, the red lotus of karmic fire was also derived from the green lotus of creation. The red lotus of creation, the golden lotus of creation, and the black lotus of creation were all derived from the green lotus of creation. However, the green lotus of creation wasn't something that the fusion of the red lotus of creation, the golden lotus of creation, and the black lotus of creation couldn't compare to. The green lotus of creation was much more precious and powerful than these three. The green lotus of creation was definitely an existence that surpassed the Tao Lord level. It was at least at the Tao sovereign level. It might even surpass the Tao sovereign level. Yang Hanwu had never seen the green lotus of creation, so he didn't know how powerful it was. Rumor had it that Pangu of the creation world was born from the green lotus of creation. This showed how terrifying the green lotus of creation was. I think this seed should be enough for the deal. Ice Dance looked at Yang Hanwu and said. As a matter of fact, the value of this lotus seed definitely exceeded that of the Ice Saint Domain and the Ice Dragon Mountain's Ice Saint Domain's origin source. Yang Hanwu also knew this. It's enough. Yang Hanwu said, in fact, although this lotus seed isn't as complete as the inheritance of the Ice Saint Domain, it's still much more precious than the origin of the Ice Saint Domain and the Ice Dragon Mountain. Do you really want to exchange this lotus seed for it? Ice Dance nodded and said, yes, although this lotus seed is very precious, it's actually not easy to nurture the real green lotus of creation. It requires too many resources to nurture the green lotus of creation. It's not something that ordinary people can bear. Moreover, it requires the chi of creation to germinate and nurture the green lotus of creation. Therefore, although this lotus seed is precious, it's of little value in the hands of ordinary people. You can also choose to refine it and seize the creation energy within, or fuse it into your bloodline. This will greatly improve your physique and bloodline. Yang Hanwu was very curious. If Xue Xue could refine this lotus seed and seize the origin of this lotus seed, she would be able to obtain great benefits. Ice Dance looked at Yang Hanwu and said, you're thinking too simply. How can the green lotus of creation be so easy to refine? Moreover, forcibly refining the green lotus of creation seed will cause one to suffer the curse energy. It's not something that ordinary people can bear. Yang Hanwu wasn't aware of that. Since you've agreed, then this lotus seed is yours and you pass the inheritance to me. Said Ice Dance. Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word? Yang Hanwu held the lotus seed in his hand and gazed at Ice Dance as he spoke. You won't. Ice Dance shook her head and said, you don't have to do that. Alright, this is the inheritance of Ice Dragon Mountain. Yang Hanwu first separated the inheritance of Ice Dragon Mountain and passed it to Ice Dance. Then, he summoned Jing Qiushuang. At this moment, Jing Qiushuang had recovered her memories and her consciousness. Husband. After she came out, Jing Qiushuang threw herself into Yang Hanwu's arms. Her eyes were red. She'd recovered her memories and recalled the scene of her attacking Yang Hanwu. She was slightly sad and said, I'm sorry, It's fine. Yang Hanwu consoled her. It's fine. It's not your fault. You were just schemed against. Alright, what about the outsiders? Yang Hanwu said, right, Shuang pass the inheritance of the Ice Saint Domain to Ice Dance. Alright. Jing Qiushuang nodded. In her opinion, she would do whatever Yang Hanwu said. So long as she could be by Yang Hanwu's side, everything was enough. She didn't have to care about anything else. After he passed the inheritance to Ice Dance, Yang Hanwu prepared to leave the Ice Saint Domain. In his opinion, he'd achieved his goal of entering the Ice Saint Domain. He'd come to find Jing Qiushuang. Now that he'd found her and was safe and sound, it was the best outcome. Chapter 2156. After leaving the Ice Dominion, Yang Hanwu received a piece of shocking news from Jing Qiushuang. This news caused his emotions to become very complicated. Yang Hanwu, now that you've found Sister Qiushuang, where do you plan to go? Zi Xintong asked. Do you want to go to the Dark Dominion with me? Going to the Dark Dominion to deal with Zi Tian was something that Yang Hanwu and Zi Xintong had discussed before. Zi Xintong wasn't willing to be suppressed by Zi Tian. If Zi Xintong could obtain the Dark Dominion and become the Lord of the Dark Dominion, her strength would reach a new level. Therefore, defeating Zi Tian and becoming the Lord of the Dark Dominion was very important to Zi Xintong. However, she couldn't do it alone. She would have to rely on external forces and find helpers. For her, the most suitable helper was Yang Hanwu. In the past, Yang Hongwu's strength wasn't enough to contend against Zetian. Even if she joined forces, they wouldn't be able to pose any threat to Zetian. Therefore, she didn't bring Yang Hongwu into the Dark Dominion. However, after experiencing so many things, she knew of Yang Hongwu's strength. Moreover, Jin Qiushuang was also a Dao Lord expert. If they joined forces, they could pose a great threat to Zetian. Moreover, now was the best time to enter the Dark Dominion to deal with Zetian. If they waited a little longer and allowed Zetian to successfully break through, then it would be very difficult to deal with Zetian and seize the Dark Dominion's origin source. No. Yang Hongwu heard Zi Xintong's words and shook his head. I'm going to a place now. It's not the Dark Dominion. Where is it? Zi Xintong frowned slightly and said, now is the best time to enter the Dark Dominion to deal with Zetian. If we delay for a few more days, then Zetian's strength will rise to an unimaginable level. Once he breaks through, even if we join forces, we won't be a match for him. I know that. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, however, if he enters the level of Dao Master, he will be drawn by the power of law and leave the realm of the gods. You're oversimplifying things. Zetian already knows about your existence. If he succeeds in breaking through, he will deal with you before he leaves God's domain. Zi Xintong looked at Yang Hongwu and said, for him, you are his greatest enemy. It can be said that you have become his obsession. If he wants to reach the next level, he must first deal with you and kill you. Otherwise, he will be in great trouble and may give birth to a terrifying heart devil. No matter what, the place I am going to now is not the demon realm, but the illusory demon abyss to find someone. Yang Hongwu said. Fantasy fiend abyss? You're crazy. The illusory demon abyss is one of the most terrifying places in the entire divine realm. The space there is extremely unstable. Once you enter the illusory demon abyss, you can fall into the endless void at any time. Zi Xintong was shocked when she heard this and said. The illusory demon abyss was the most unstable place in the entire divine realm. The people who entered the illusory demon abyss could cause the space to shatter at any time. Moreover, it was said that there was a terrifying existence in the illusory demon abyss. This terrifying existence did not have any good impression of the people who entered the illusory demon abyss. The reason why the illusory demon abyss was so terrifying was because this terrifying existence could cause the void to shatter. No matter how dangerous it is, I have to go there. There is a very important person in there who is very close to me. Yang Hongwu said, no matter how dangerous it is, I have to go there. You? Zi Xintong looked at Yang Hongwu and said, who is this person? Is he so important to you? You don't know him. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said. Maybe I know him? Zi Xintong said, if that person is really so important to you, I am willing to go with you. Yang Hongwu looked at Zi Xintong and smiled bitterly in his heart. He was very clear about this girl's attitude towards him. What did he do to deserve her? The illusory demon abyss was too dangerous. Yang Hongwu was very clear about how great the risk was to enter the illusory demon abyss. It was said that the illusory demon abyss was a crack between the divine realm and the divine realm. It was formed after a supreme expert fell in a battle. There was a huge terror in the illusory demon abyss. It was said that the evil intent of the supreme expert was still there. After entering the illusory demon abyss, one could be possessed by the evil intent and become a puppet that only knew how to kill. This was the most terrifying thing. You don't have to go with me. This is my own matter. I am not worth it. Yang Hongwu said. I am worried that you will fall into the illusory demon abyss if you go alone. If you die, then I will have no hope to deal with Zetian and seize the divine realm. Zi Xintong looked at Yang Hongwu. She was very clear about Yang Hongwu's words. She knew that Yang Hongwu didn't want her to take the risk. After all, the illusory demon abyss was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying and dangerous than facing the venerable Dao Defiance. Moreover, I have never been to the illusory demon abyss. I want to see if the illusory demon abyss is really as terrifying as the rumors say. You don't have to refuse. Even if you don't agree, I will still go. We are going together, aren't we? All right. Yang Hanwu was very moved when he saw Zi Xintong's reaction. I am going to the illusory demon abyss to find someone. Her name is Lu Yu. She is one of the most important people in my life. She is your woman? Zi Xintong frowned slightly when she heard this. After all, she felt a little uncomfortable. Any woman would feel the same if they heard that the person they liked was going to find another woman. Moreover, she hadn't really established a relationship with Yang Hanwu yet. Yes. Yang Hanwu said. Why haven't I heard you mention it? Zi Xintong said. I will tell you about Lu Yu in the future. Yang Hanwu said. Lu Yu was Yang Hongwu's woman from Earth. She was his first love. This time, he was very shocked when he heard Jing Qiushuang tell him about Lu Yu. He thought that he was the only one who had transmigrated to this world. He didn't expect that Lu Yu would also be here. This made him very excited and shocked. He didn't know how Lu Yu got here, and why Lu Yu was trapped in the illusory demon abyss. Most importantly, Lu Yu actually knew about his relationship with Jing Qiushuang, and she even told Jing Qiushuang about her situation. This made Yang Hanwu even more curious. Chapter 2157. Half a day later. Illusory Magic Mountain Range. Yang Hanwu, Zi Xintong and the others had arrived at the Illusory Magic Mountain Range. The Illusory Magic Mountain Range looked ordinary, but it contained a terrifying murderous aura. The entire Illusory Magic Mountain Range looked like an ordinary mountain range, but in fact, it was an enormous spatial world. Once one entered the Illusory Magic Mountain Range, it was equivalent to entering a great world. Nobody knew how many terrifying existences were hidden in the Illusory Magic Mountain Range. After all, the Illusory Magic Mountain Range was formed by the fall of a supreme expert. Of course, although the Illusory Magic Mountain Range was very dangerous, it was also full of opportunities. If one was lucky, one could obtain great benefits in the Illusory Magic Mountain Range. However, generally speaking, adventurers who entered the Fantasy Demon Mountain Range would not easily enter the Fantasy Demon Abyss, which was the core of the Fantasy Demon Mountain Range. It could even be said to be one of the most dangerous places in the entire Fantasy Demon Mountain Range, or even the entire God's domain. Yang Hanwu and the others' purpose this time was to enter the depths of the Illusory Magic Mountain Range, the Illusory Magic Mountain Range. Are you sure you want to go in? Zi Xintong looked at Yang Hanwu and said, the person you were looking for did not leave any message. Can't she come out and find us? Looking at the majestic mountain range in front of her, Zi Xintong was somewhat worried. Although she had never entered the demonic fantasy mountain range, she knew that the demonic fantasy abyss was not a baseless rumor. Since there was such a terrifying rumor, then there must be a reason for it. Now, they were only at the periphery of the mountain range. Once they entered, it would be difficult to turn back. But now, they could still make a decision. Once they entered, there was no way out. We must go in. Yang Hanwu said, you can stay here, but there is no need to take risks with me. I know your intention, but if I can come back safely. You don't need to say anymore, I will go in with you. At this time, Zi Xintong interrupted Yang Hongwu's words and said, since I have already promised you, I will not go back on my words. But, shouldn't we be better prepared? Or, should we find someone familiar to lead the way? Find a guide? There is no time. Yang Hanwu shook his head and said, I do not want to delay at all. Time is pressing. Moreover, you said that Zi Tian's strength is constantly improving. Zi's strength as divine domain is not long after Zi's strength will break through the bottleneck of this world realm, the limit of the divine domain, and Tao Lord realm. Once Z breaks becomes a Tao master, it will be difficult to defeat him. Once Z becomes a Tao master in Tao master realm, he will, and God realm, Z's realm. And, he realm. Zs. After a pause, Yang Hanwu continued, as for the matter of finding a guide to lead the way, It is completely unnecessary, because if this illusory demon abyss is really so terrifying, finding a guide is completely meaningless. Ordinary people simply do not dare to go deep into the illusory demon abyss. Even if we find a suitable guide, at most they can only take us to the entrance of the illusory demon abyss, which is only in the illusory demon mountain range. It is impossible to take us into the illusory demon abyss and find the person I am looking for. You're right. Zi Xintong nodded. When Yang Hanwu and the others were about to enter the magic mountain range, there was a spatial fluctuation. At this time, several people came out of the magic mountain range. These people appeared to be in a very sorry state. Their bodies were stained with blood and riddled with wounds. When they saw Yang Hanwu and the others, they looked like they were facing a great enemy and got into an attacking posture. "Who are you?" the man who took the lead asked. He was the least injured and was the strongest. He had reached the early stage of Tao Lord Realm. In the whole 13 divine domains, there were only a few people who had reached the Tao Lord Realm. Generally speaking, they belonged to the forces of the divine domains. However, the Tao Lord Realm warrior in front of them did not belong to the 13 divine domains. "Who are you?" Zi Xintong asked. "Why do you look so miserable?" "Let's go, senior brother." "Ignore them. Let's go back." At this time, the woman behind the man said. The man nodded and was about to leave when Yang Hanwu blocked their way and said, "You don't have to worry. The three of us don't have any bad intentions. We just want to know more about the Magic Mountain Range." "You want to enter the Magic Mountain Range?" "That's right." Yang Hanwu said, "To be honest, I am the master of the common people's divine domain. This time, I want to enter the Magic Mountain Range to deal with some matters. However, I am not familiar with the Magic Mountain Range. Seeing that you have come out of the Magic Mountain Range, I want to know more about the situation." "Master of the common people's divine domain?" The leader looked at Yang Hanwu and was slightly stunned. "Isn't the master of the common people's divine domain the common people's divine lord?" "I have seen the common people's divine lord before." "You are not. Could it be that something happened to the common people's divine lord and you inherited his legacy?" "That's right." Yang Hanwu nodded and didn't deny it. To Yang Hanwu, he didn't want to create more problems. After all, it was better to have less problems. "My name is Huang Zhong. We are disciples of the Golden Tao Palace from the upper world. This time, we came to the Magic Mountain Range to deal with some matters." Huang Zhong said, "If you want to enter the Magic Mountain Range, I suggest you give up. The Magic Mountain Range is filled with danger. Unless you are a Tao Sovereign expert, you will be in great danger." Yang Hanwu smiled bitterly and said, "To be honest, I have no choice but to enter the Magic Mountain Range. Of course, I know how terrifying the Magic Mountain Range is. However, I have no choice but to enter. I wonder if you can tell us more about the situation." Seeing Yang Hanwu like this, Huang Zhong paused and said, "Since you want to enter, I can't stop you." In fact, to Huang Zhong, it had nothing to do with Yang Hanwu. If Yang Hanwu wanted to enter, he naturally wouldn't stop him. As for the situation in the Magic Mountain Range, it wasn't a problem to tell Yang Hanwu. As for the illusory demonic mountain range, it's not the same as before. It's even more terrifying than before. We came down to the mortal world this time because of the terrifying existence in the illusory demonic mountain range. The illusory demonic mountain range was originally a terrifying existence formed by the fall of a supreme devil. Now, that supreme devil has shown signs of reviving. We came down to the mortal world to inquire about the news. Now, we can confirm that the terrifying existence is about to revive. Once it revives, the entire divine domain may fall into a terrible crisis. Chapter 2158. Which Supreme Almighty is it? Yang Hanwu asked curiously. The resurrection of a supreme being was indeed very powerful. From their conversation, he could tell that the supreme being was definitely an existence that surpassed the Tao Master realm. If it was only a Tao Master Realm cultivator, then no matter how powerful the ominous land formed after his death was, it was impossible for the entire Divine Realm to fear it. Yes. Since even the Divine Realm of the upper world was afraid of it, it was enough to prove that the Supreme Being was absolutely terrifying when he was alive. Once the Supreme Being was resurrected, no one in the entire Divine Realm would be a match for him. It would cause a storm of blood, which was why they were so afraid of him. The great sage, Huang Zhong said. That Almighty is called Tao Destroyer Supreme. Back then, the great Tao of the All-Heaven Divine Realm was damaged by him. Even now, the great Tao of the All-Heaven Divine Realm is still incomplete. It is because of this that the All-Heaven Divine Realm has fallen to such a state. Otherwise, how could the All-Heaven Divine Realm have fallen to such a state and become a declining universe? Yang Hanwu was shocked to hear Huang Zhong's words. From Huang Zhong's tone, the so-called Divine Realm was merely a declining universe? Then, there seemed to be many universes that were more powerful than the Divine Realm. Yang Hanwu really didn't know much about these. Originally, Yang Hanwu thought that a spatial world was a universe, and a Divine Realm was a universe. However, now it seemed that a small spatial world was far from being a universe. However, that Supreme Being was really terrifying. He dared to use the two words Tao extermination as the word seal. It was enough to show how terrifying he was. What was even more shocking was that the Supreme Being's strength was also incomparably powerful. He even destroyed the great Tao of the Divine Realm and made it incomplete. If he had such strength, what would he have to worry about? Thinking of this, Yang Hanwu couldn't help but smile bitterly and sigh in his heart. It seemed that his understanding of this world was still too little. Even if he had now become the master of the Divine Realm, even if he had integrated the lower world and the 13 Divine Realms together and obtained the entire lower world, his strength might not be able to compete with the so-called the Great Sage. Now, Yang Hanwu was even more worried about Lu Yu. Since such a terrifying existence was about to awaken in the illusory demon abyss, wouldn't Lu Yu be in danger? He had to enter the illusory demon abyss as soon as possible and rescue Lu Yu. Moreover, if he found Lu Yu, he might be able to find out how he came to this world and how he transmigrated. Of course, for Yang Hanwu, being able to see Lu Yu again made him very happy. However, if he saw Lu Yu again, Yang Hanwu didn't know how to face her. After all, he was no longer the Yang Hanwu of the past. Back then, he only had Lu Yu in his heart, but now, there were many women in his heart. If he was asked to give up on Bairan, Jin Qiushuang and the others, Yang Hanwu absolutely couldn't do it. To be able to destroy the great Tao of the Divine Realm, his strength is too terrifying. Since the other party is so powerful, why did he fall here? Zi Xintong asked. Rumor has it that he died because of a battle with the great Tao. Although his great Tao was damaged, he was also seriously injured. When he was seriously injured, the experts of the Divine Domain joined forces to kill him and seal him in the lower Divine Domain. In fact, the current lower Divine Domain is not a true Divine Domain, but a taboo Divine Domain. The taboo Divine Domain is the taboo Divine Domain of the entire Divine Domain. The entire taboo Divine Domain is divided into several pieces and a part of that person's body is sealed in each piece. Huang Zhong said, in that great battle, the experts of the Divine Realm killed the Great Sage and divided the Great Sage's body into 13 parts and sealed them in these 13 forbidden Divine Realms. In the illusory demon abyss, the most important part is sealed, which is a part of his brain. This is too shocking. Jin Qiushuang was also shocked and said, whether it's true or not, we don't know. It's just a rumor, but one thing is certain. In the illusory demon abyss of the illusory demon mountain range, a terrifying expert has indeed fallen, and the evil intent of this expert is about to awaken. Therefore, if you want to enter the illusory demon mountain range, you must be very careful. However, I suggest that you don't enter. Huang Zhong reminded again. Thank you, Brother Huang. I have no choice but to enter. Yang Hanwu shook his head and said, since you must enter, I hope that this information will be of some help to you. Huang Zhong raised his hand and condensed a ball of light, this is some of the information I obtained in the illusory demon mountain range. Thank you very much. Yang Hanwu was very happy to see this. Although this information couldn't be of great help to Yang Hanwu, it could help Yang Hanwu understand the situation in the illusory demon mountain range. It's time for us to leave and return to the sect to inform the sect master of the situation here. So, let's meet again in the future. After that, Huang Zhong and the others waved their hands and opened a passage. They stepped into the passage and disappeared on the spot. Yang Hanwu could feel that Huang Zhong and the others had indeed gone to the upper world. As for the information left by Huang Zhong, Yang Hanwu also checked it. Currently, the illusory demon mountain range was indeed full of danger. Many creatures had become demonic creatures and evil spirits, losing their self-consciousness. However, their strength had increased tremendously. In the illusory demon mountain range, even the ordinary insects had become very terrifying after being contaminated by the evil aura. If they were not careful, even an emperor would be easily killed. Some of them were even comparable to a sovereign realm expert. Yang Hanwu, Huang Zhong's origin is mysterious. His words may not be reliable, but one thing is for sure. The illusory demon abyss is indeed full of danger. We must be very careful this time. Zi Xintong said. Huang Zhong's words are partly true and partly false. Yang Hanwu nodded. Huang Zhong and they had just met by chance. How could he possibly tell the truth? However, what Huang Zhong had said might not be all lies. Some of it was true. At least, some of the memories that Huang Zhong had left for Yang Hanwu were true. Of course, Huang Zhong had underestimated Yang Hanwu by leaving a mark in those memories. It might be difficult for an ordinary Dao Lord to discover this mark, but for Yang Hanwu, this mark was nothing at all. It was easy for him to erase it. Chapter 2159. Although his words aren't entirely true, it's still helpful to us. At least, he told us something about the illusory demon mountain range. Yang Hanwu said. After all, they had never entered the illusory demon mountain range before. They had only heard rumors about it and had never seen it with their own eyes. Let's go in now. Yang Hanwu took the lead and walked into the illusory demon mountain range. After entering the illusory demon mountain range, Yang Hanwu felt the difference between the outside world and the illusory demon mountain range. The entire illusory demon mountain range was just as Huang Zhong had said. The spiritual qi in the illusory demon mountain range was very violent and contained a terrifying demon qi. The violent qi in the spiritual qi was not something that ordinary people could absorb. If one cultivated in such a place for a long time without special cultivation techniques or treasures, it would be a dead end. Sooner or later, one would lose his mind and self. The spiritual qi here is full of violent qi. If one absorbs this spiritual qi for a long time, one will fall into the evil Dao sooner or later. Zi Xintong looked around and said. Although this place appeared to be overgrown with trees and was full of vitality, there was a terrifying murderous intent hidden within this vitality. These trees are contaminated with murderous qi. It's terrifying. Xin Qiushuang looked at the surrounding vegetation and said. This is a spirit cleansing pill. Yang Hanwu took out 2 pills and handed them to the 2 girls. This pill will not be affected by the spiritual qi here. You can absorb the spiritual qi here without worry. For any cultivator, absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was a necessary thing. Of course, if one's strength was enough, it was possible to not absorb the spiritual qi for a long time. However, in this way, one's strength would decrease with time. After all, as long as one moved, one would consume energy. If one consumed energy, one would need to replenish it. Otherwise, one's strength would decrease. This was also the reason why some weak warriors would fall into the devil's path and die after entering the illusory demon mountain range. It was because they were too weak and couldn't resist the spirit qi of heaven and earth contained in the illusory demon mountain range. The 2 girls took the pills. Immediately, they felt that the spiritual qi here could no longer affect them. As a result, the two girls were relieved. Schwanger, did Liu tell you where she is? Or did she tell you that anyone can find her after entering the illusory demon mountain range? Yang Hanwu asked as the three of them walked forward. Jing Qiushuang shook her head and said, "No, she just told me that she would find you after entering the Phantom Mountain range." "You'll come to me after entering the Phantom Mountain range?" Yang Hanwu took a deep breath. If it were other women, such as Jing Qiushuang and Bairan, he would be able to sense them as long as they were not isolated by a super expert. However, he could not sense Liu Yu. Although Liu Yu was his girlfriend on Earth, in fact, Yang Hongwu and Liu Yu had not really been together. Moreover, at that time, he was just an ordinary person. It was impossible for him to sense Liu Yu's soul aura. However, Yang Hongwu was very curious. He seemed to have transmigrated here with his body. How did she know about him? Thinking of this, Yang Hanwu guessed that his ability to transmigrate here had a lot to do with Liu Yu. Since there's no other way, let's go to the illusory demon abyss. Yang Hanwu said. Since Liu Yu told Jing Qiushuang about the illusory demon abyss, she was most likely in the illusory demon abyss. Of course, Yang Hanwu was curious about why Liu Yu was in the illusory demon abyss. Could it be that she had something to do with the so-called the Great Sage? Or was she the successor of Grand Monarch Tao Destroyer? Or was she here to seal Grand Monarch Tao Destroyer? No matter what the case was, he had to go to the illusory demon abyss to see Liu Yu and figure things out. "Oh no, we're in trouble." At this time, Zi Xintong said. "Someone is following us." Yang Hanwu said, "I noticed it a long time ago, but I didn't expect these guys to be so impatient." "Who is it?" Jing Qiushuang said, "Could it be Huang Zhong's group?" After the three of them entered the illusory demon mountain range, they didn't encounter any other people, cultivators, or even strange beasts. The only people they encountered were Huang Zhong's group. "No, it's not them." Yang Hanwu shook his head and said, "However, these people are Huang Zhong's enemies. The aura left by Huang Zhong's group's injuries is from these people." "So, we were tricked by Huang Zhong's group?" Zi Xintong's face sank. The three of them had encountered Huang Zhong's group, and Huang Zhong had also given some information to Yang Hanwu. Naturally, the aura of Huang Zhong's group was left on their bodies. In this way, if they encountered Huang Zhong's enemies, they would naturally think that Yang Hongwu's group was with Huang Zhong's group. Damn it! That bastard Huang Zhong dared to trick us. When I go to the upper realm, I will definitely settle the score with them. Well, let's see what they want to do now. Yang Hanwu said. These people weren't weak, but they didn't show any signs of demonization. Therefore, Yang Hanwu guessed that these people weren't the devils in the illusory demon mountain range. Of course, they could also be the natives of the illusory demon mountain range. Although the spiritual qi in the illusory demon mountain range contained terrible evil qi, it didn't mean that no one could cultivate here. Some special cultivators could directly dissolve the evil qi in the illusory demon mountain range. It was just that ordinary people couldn't do it. You guys, you have followed us for so long. It's time for you to come out, right? Yang Hongwu shouted. As soon as Yang Hongwu's voice fell, a rustling sound was heard, and then, several black-robed men appeared in front of them. These black-robed men were very strong, and the strongest one was at the peak of the Tao Lord realm. Of course, the weakest one was at the half-step Tao Lord realm. The reason why this group of people didn't make a move for so long was probably because they were afraid of Zi Xintong and Jing Qiushuang. After all, Zi Xintong and Jing Qiushuang were both Tao Lords. If these black-robed men attacked, they might not be able to gain the upper hand because they were all injured to different degrees. Who are you? Why did you intrude into the illusory demon mountain range? What is your relationship with that bastard Huang Zhong? The leader looked at Yang Hongwu and said coldly. Chapter 2160. Huang Zhong, we have nothing to do with him. Yang Hongwu shook his head. Guys, you've got the wrong person. Impossible. You guys have Huang Zhong sent on you. You can't fool me. Li Sun said. To be honest, we're here to look for someone in the illusory demon abyss. We met Huang Zhong outside and he told me some information about the illusory demon mountain range. Yang Hongwu shook his head. We have nothing to do with him. Now that I think about it, I understand why Huang Zhong told me about the illusory demon mountain range even though he's not related to us. It turns out that he's trying to trick us. Li Sun frowned. He didn't fully believe Yang Hongwu's words. After all, there was indeed Huang Zhong's aura on Yang Hongwu's body. This was something that could not be concealed and could not be denied. Senior brother, you can't believe his words. Song Yuan said. It's fine if you don't believe me. If you really want to fight, do you think we're afraid of you? I just want to enter the illusory demon abyss to look for someone. I don't want to waste time and get entangled with you guys. Don't force me. Yang Hanwu looked at them and said coldly. What a big tone. When Song Yuan heard this, he glared at Yang Hanwu and the others. Senior brother, wait. At this moment, another person spoke up. This person had white hair, and even his eyebrows were white. He was the weakest, but when he spoke, Song Yuan, who was about to attack, stopped. So did Li Sun. Shuiji, what do you think? Li Sun said. Senior brother, these three people shouldn't have anything to do with Huang Zhong. If they're with Huang Zhong, they can fight us directly. If they join forces with Huang Zhong, do you think we have a chance of winning? Shuiji said. Yes, that's true. If they join forces, we won't be able to fight against them. Li Sun nodded. Who are you looking for in the illusory demon abyss? I advise you not to go. The illusory demon abyss is now filled with danger. That terrifying existence is about to awaken. If you go in, you'll just be courting death. Li Sun looked at Yang Hanwu and said, since you have nothing to do with that bastard Huang Zhong, then let's part ways here. After saying that, Li Sun waved his hand and led everyone away. However, Song Yuan secretly said, Senior brother, are we leaving just like that? Those people are definitely related to Huang Zhong and the others. Although they aren't disciples of the Oristao Palace, they are definitely related to them. Do you think we can gain an advantage if we go against them? Li Sun said, Song Yuan, you need to change your character. You need to learn how to use your brain. TSK, I won't learn from him. Look at little Ji. His hair is all white, and his cultivation is mediocre. I don't even know when he will break through to the Dao Lord realm. Song Yuan said disdainfully. You only know how to talk. Your strength is nothing. In this world, strength is the foundation. Everything else is meaningless. Without strength, everything is in vain. No matter how many schemes you have, in the face of absolute strength, they are not worth mentioning. Song Yuan didn't care about schemes at all. In his heart, strength was the foundation. Your strength is mediocre as well. Shuishi wasn't too happy when he heard Song Yuan's words. He said coldly, you're just a brute. Your strength is far from being able to ignore schemes. I only need a small scheme to deal with you. You want to try? Song Yuan was angered when he heard that and said coldly. If it weren't for me, you would have died in Huang Zhong's hands. How dare you say that? Shuishi said coldly. You? All right, stop arguing. Wait. Shuiji's face suddenly changed. What's wrong? Li Sun's face darkened when he saw Shuiji's reaction. What's wrong? We've been tricked. Song Shuiji said, those people have the demon attracting incense on them. What? Damn it, we should have killed them just now. Li Sun's face changed when he heard that. No wonder I felt something was wrong just now. It was Huang Zhong's aura that made me ignore the demon attracting incense. Now, we've also been infected by it. Song Shuiji said, Senior brother, we have to leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll be besieged by demons. It's too late. Li Sun smiled bitterly. In front of them, there was a terrifying aura. Smoke and dust filled the sky. Dense demonic insects and beasts had appeared. Let's go back. Song Shuishi said, let's go back. At this moment, Yang Hongwu's expression changed drastically as he felt the terrifying aura. We're in trouble. At this moment, Yang Hongwu also sensed that terrifying demonic insects and exotic beasts had appeared from all directions and were closing in on them. So many demonic insects and beasts. Zi Xintong's face changed. The illusory demon mountain is really terrifying. What should we do? If we're surrounded, we won't be able to resist at all. Are they the ones who attracted them? At this time, Zi Xintong saw Li Sun and the others quickly catching up. Damn it, how dare you trick us? Zi Xintong looked at Li Sun and the others in anger. It's not them. Yang Hanwu shook his head and stopped Zi Xintong. They don't have the ability to do that. Bastard, how dare you say you're not Huang Zhong's people? How dare you trick us? Senior brother, let's kill them first. Song Yuan was furious when he saw Yang Hanwu and the others. They were surrounded by these demonic insects and beasts. There was no hope for them to escape. The hope of survival was too slim. Song Yuan, don't be impulsive. Li Sun pulled him and said, we've all been tricked by Huang Zhong. Everyone, you've been poisoned by the demon-attracting incense. These demonic insects and beasts are gathered because of the incense. Demon-attracting incense? Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. He hadn't expected himself to be so careless. Although he hadn't heard of the demon-luring incense before, he was certain that the demon-luring incense was extremely terrifying. Just from its name, one could tell that the reason for the gathering of demonic insects and mutated beasts was because of the demon-luring incense. Yes, the demon-attracting incense has a fatal attraction to the demonic insects and beasts in the illusory demon mountain range. Li Sun said, now, we have to join hands to have a chance of survival. Otherwise, we'll definitely die. There are too many demonic insects and beasts in the illusory demon mountain range. There are countless of them. Is there no other way to get rid of these demonic insects? Yang Hongwu asked. There were simply too many of these demonic insects. Although the individual strength of these demonic insects wasn't that great, there were simply too many of them. Chapter 2161. There's no other way, unless we have the 10,000 insects token. Li Sun shook his head. The 10,000 insects token was the most precious treasure of the ancient 10,000 insects sect. It had been lost when the 10,000 insects sect was destroyed. Therefore, it was impossible for the 10,000 insects token to appear here. No one can control the demonic insects here, even if you have the beast taming technique. The only way to control them is to have a strong enough divine power and reach the Tao Master realm. In this case, the demonic insects won't dare to come close under the pressure of the divine power, but it's impossible. Song Shuishi said, we can only join forces and hope to buy some time. Is that the only way? Song Yuan said, is there no other way? I don't want to die here. At this moment, Song Yuan's heart was on the verge of collapse. Although he believed in strength above all and despised people like Song Shuishi who liked to scheme and scheme, he was very clear about the current situation. These demonic insects were terrifying. If they relied purely on strength, it was impossible to resist them. Now, we can only join forces and fight our way out. Only then will we have a chance to survive. Li Sun looked at Yang Hanwu and the other two and said, you're strong. If we join forces, we still have a chance to fight our way out. No need. Yang Hanwu shook his head and said, these demonic insects are terrifying, but I don't think they're a threat. Yang Hanwu could certainly avoid these demonic insects. However, the biggest problem for Yang Hanwu now was the devil-attracting incense on his body. If the devil-attracting incense could not be removed, it would continuously attract these demonic insects. If he could not solve this problem, he would be in trouble no matter where he went. Therefore, what Yang Hanwu had to do now was to find a way to remove the aura of the devil-attracting incense. You have a way? Song Shuishi looked at Yang Hanwu in astonishment. He could hardly believe his eyes. The devil insects had always been a huge problem. Even experts at the Tao Master realm were helpless against them. It was not that they were unable to kill them, but that there were too many of them. For these devil insects, if they were killed, they would split into two. The more they were killed, the more there would be. Only the divine power could completely wipe out these devil insects. Other forces could only restrain them at best. If you have a way to deal with these demonic insects, my Tao Palace will owe you a favor. Li Sun said. What I'm saying is that I can get rid of these demonic bugs. As for you, I'm powerless. After saying that, Yan Hanwu grabbed Zi Xintong and Jing Qiushuang and activated the void teleportation technique, instantly disappearing from the spot. Seeing Yan Hanwu and the other two disappear, Li Sun's face changed greatly. Song Yuan was incomparably furious. Senior brother, we've been schemed against. Those people are definitely related to that dog Huang Zhong. At this time, they could only face these devil insects. It was easier said than done to kill their way out. There was no end to the devil insects. They can't run away. Li Sun shook his head and said, he has the devil attracting incense. For us, it's good for them to escape from here. These devil insects will seek out the aura of the devil attracting incense. We don't have the aura of the devil attracting incense. As long as we can withstand a wave of them, we will be safe. At this time, Yan Hanwu appeared on a small mountain. This small mountain was filled with a gloomy and cold aura, which made people feel very uncomfortable. This is a mountain of bones. So many bones? Zi Xintong stomped her foot, revealing eerie white bones. This small mountain was actually piled up with bones. The entire radius of 100 feet was filled with bones. Yang Hanwu took in a deep breath. These skeletons were extremely horrifying. In the distance, there was an even larger mountain, which was filled with bones. This skeleton was filled with a terrifying pressure. What is that? What a terrifying aura. Jing Qiushuang took a deep breath and looked at the huge skeleton in the distance. She couldn't help but be shocked. Yang Hanwu was also shocked. Devil insects. So many devil insects. While the three of them were shocked, countless devil insects crawled out of the huge skeleton. They were extremely fast and densely packed. In just a few breaths, tens of thousands of devil insects had appeared. These devil insects rushed towards Yan Hanwu and the other two in a frenzy. Damned devil attracting incense. Yang Hanwu didn't have any information about this place in the information that Huang Zhong gave him. He didn't know what kind of existence this huge skeleton was, but from the pressure it gave off, he could guess that this person's strength was quite terrifying. He didn't know what kind of existence this skeleton was when it was alive, but it must have been very powerful. Otherwise, how could its skeleton be so terrifying? This skeleton seemed to be the nest of those devil insects. The densely packed devil insects seemed to have no end. What should we do? Zi Xintong said, there are too many of these devil insects. We can't deal with them at all. It's the devil attracting incense on my body. It hasn't been removed yet. As long as the devil attracting incense is removed, these devil insects won't be a threat to us. Yang Hanwu frowned slightly. It was impossible to keep running. If so, it would consume a lot of Yang Hanwu's energy. Moreover, he wasn't familiar with the illusory demon mountain range at all. It wouldn't be a good thing if he kept using the spatial travel mystic technique to teleport through the illusory demon mountain range. It would be troublesome if he accidentally teleported into the lair of some terrifying exotic beast. I'll try to kill these devil insects. Yang Hanwu said to Zi Xintong and Zi Xintong, you two step back. After saying that, Yang Hanwu flew up and rushed towards the huge skeleton. Those devil insects noticed the arrival of Yang Hanwu and swarmed towards him. Wherever the devil insects went, it instantly turned into a barren land. Nothing was left. There were still a lot of plants on the ground, but after the devil insects passed by, everything was devoured. This showed how terrifying these devil insects were. This reminded Yang Hanwu of the marching ants on Earth. These devil insects were the ultimate version of the marching ants. Their strength was much, much more terrifying than the marching ants. Red Lotus Karmic Fire, come out! Yang Hanwu shouted. With a wave of his hand, the Red Lotus of Karmic Fire burst out. Flames filled the sky and instantly shrouded the area within a radius of 100 feet. The demonic insects were instantly set ablaze and made sizzling sounds. However, the devil insects behind were not afraid at all. Even if there was a terrifying karmic fire in front of them, these devil insects still crazily rushed forward. At B. Pen Fun Library. Chapter 2162. There are too many of them. Even if the karmic fire can burn a lot of them, there's still an endless number of them. If this continues, the situation won't be good. In the distance, Zi Xintong slightly frowned and said, "Do you have a way to help my husband?" Xing Qiushuang looked at Zi Xintong and asked. Zi Xintong was stronger than her. Xing Qiushuang could clearly feel that she couldn't help Yang Hanwu now. If it was before, she still had a part of the inheritance of the Ice Saint domain. But now, she had already given the inheritance of the Ice Saint domain to Xue Xuewu. Therefore, she didn't have enough strength to help Yang Hanwu. She could only protect herself in the face of danger. Let's continue watching. If Yang Hanwu still can't do anything, then I'll take action. Zi Xintong still had a trump card. After all, these demonic insects were just low-level devils. She was from the Saint Devil clan. If she paid a certain price, she could deter these demonic insects. However, doing so would cause her a lot of harm. Unless it was absolutely necessary, she didn't want to do so. What do you think? While the two were discussing, Yang Hanwu took out a huge furnace. This was Yang Hanwu's devouring furnace. As soon as the devouring furnace appeared, it crazily devoured the demonic insects. This. My God, is he crazy? He actually dares to devour these demonic insects. These demonic insects contain a terrifying demonic chi. Ordinary people can't completely refine them. If he devours them, he will be contaminated with demonic chi. Once the demonic chi is too strong, he will fall into the devil path. Zi Xintong opened her eyes wide and said, "This. I believe in him. Since he dares to do this, he must have enough confidence." Xing Qiushuang knew Yang Hanwu very well. Yang Hanwu generally wouldn't fight a battle that he wasn't confident in. He was a very careful person. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't take risks. And now, although the situation was very critical, it was obvious that they had not reached the end of the line. Yet, Yang Hanwu had done so. From this, it could be seen that Yang Hanwu was confident enough to refine these demonic insects without being affected by the demonic nature. Zi Xintong nodded. She understood Yang Hanwu very well and trusted Yang Hanwu. At this moment, Yang Hanwu was frantically devouring and refining these demonic insects. These demonic insects were not very strong. Refining these demonic insects would provide Yang Hanwu with a lot of energy. However, the quantity was terrifying. As long as he refined these demonic insects, his cultivation would increase tremendously. However, refining these demonic insects was also risky. These demonic insects contained a special demonic nature in their bodies. Even if Yang Hanwu could refine this demonic nature, he would have to pay a great price. Moreover, if these demonic insects were really endless, he wouldn't be able to refine them completely. After all, using the devouring furnace to devour and refine these demonic insects required a lot of energy, especially mental energy. Although Yang Hanwu's mental energy was extremely powerful and far exceeded that of ordinary Dao Lords, it was still limited. It wasn't endless and there would be a time when it would be exhausted. Therefore, Yang Hanwu wasn't sure how many demonic insects he could devour and refine. However, judging from the current situation, his mental energy consumption was too fast. Devouring and refining these demonic insects was definitely not enough to raise his cultivation to the Dao Lord realm. At this moment, in the illusory fiend abyss, a dignified old man opened his eyes. His eyes were looking at Yang Hanwu. What a young man to be able to devour and refine these insects. This dignified old man was a supreme expert in the illusory demon abyss. He wasn't the terrifying existence that had fallen, but he was here to suppress the terrifying existence in the illusory demon abyss. His strength was at the Tao sovereign realm. He had been suppressed in this place for countless years. He had been here ever since that terrifying existence was suppressed. Originally, this deity realm was unable to withstand the presence of a Tao master. However, he had sealed his cultivation to suppress this place. It's a pity that I'm too weak. If I'm a half-step Tao master, I wouldn't have to suppress this place. The old man narrowed his eyes and murmured. This old man was called Misery's Sea Holy Man. After Grand Sovereign Tao Destroyer was suppressed, he was sent here to guard a part of Grand Sovereign Tao Destroyer. Now, countless years had passed, and his strength had gradually diminished because of the suppression of Grand Sovereign Tao Destroyer's body. Now, he was no longer at his peak strength. However, Grand Sovereign Tao Destroyer's strength continued to grow because of his weakening, and there were signs of him awakening. Although he was very anxious, there was nothing he could do. This was because he had no other choice. His life was coming to an end and he would die in a few more days. He would no longer be able to suppress the Great Sage. Once the Great Sage could no longer be suppressed, the Great Sage would make a comeback. At that time, the entire divine realm would once again fall into a terrible crisis. The current All Heavens divine realm was no longer the All Heavens divine realm of his time. Due to the terrifying war back then, many experts of the current All Heavens divine realm had fallen. Countless years had passed, but the entire All Heavens divine realm had yet to recover. Therefore, once the Great Sage revived, no one would be a match for him. Because of this, he activated the trump card left behind by that person. However, although he activated the trump card left behind by that person, he still did not see what it was. However, a young girl came here a few years ago. She was only a peak Tao Lord and her strength was far from enough to suppress the Great Sage. Misery's Sea Holy Man. At this moment, a girl appeared beside Misery's Sea Holy Man and said, "That person is the one I've been waiting for." "You're saying that he can deal with the Great Sage?" Misery's Sea Holy Man looked at the girl in front of him in disbelief. He could tell that although Yang Hanwu was not bad, his cultivation was too low. He was not even a Tao Lord and was only in the sovereign realm. It was impossible for him to deal with the Great Sage, even if it was a sealed the Great Sage. Therefore, he said, "Are you sure? Although this kid is not bad, he's only in the sovereign realm. He's far from enough to suppress that person." This girl was none other than Lu Yu, whom Yang Hanwu was looking for. When she saw Yang Hanwu appear, Lu Yu's eyes flashed with excitement. However, when she saw the two girls beside Yang Hanwu, Lu Yu felt uncomfortable. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.